Guys, good luck.
In the wild.
What is up, beautiful people? Welcome to How to Trade, formerly known as the Midday Show. That is your girl, Adara. I am Sharif, and as per usual, we're just going to wait for the chat to populate before we start shouting everybody out and doing the Katina patented roll call. We already got Bears versus Bulls, as we typically do. The world's greatest moderator already in the chat doing his thing. Shout out to you. And there we go. We got Pillsbury numero uno, sir. You are number one today. Shout out to you. We're still waiting. There we go. Mateus Lane, Juan Padilla, Lethargic. Feels like me today. Andrew. We got Stephanie Gilbert, Patrick Langlois, Big Michael Lloyd, and my main man, Adam DeLuce. We got Caleb English, Bob W., Benson Yang. Who else we got here? It's moving too quickly. We got Ryan. We got Hampton's Trader. Oh, we got Upcandle. You know how I feel about that name, Adara. Pranaya Diamond Realty of Miami. Drop the money for the 305. Shout out to you. How are you?
I am good. I am... we're living life over here on How to Trade. How are you doing? I know you've got some trades going, some stuff working. Yeah. I
think Ram is having some trouble back there because your face was covered with the list. So that's all good there, right?
No, the list, we have to see the list, so I'll get that.
Yeah, we got to see the list. All right, guys, we are talking about candlestick patterns all week. Yesterday, we did 6 bullish candlestick patterns. Today, we're doing 6 bearish. Tomorrow, we're going to be doing 6 continuation candlestick patterns. So we'll talk more about that. Right now, though, want to update you on this NVDA long on this bad boy. We've been holding VWAP the majority of the morning. I said to myself, look, we're holding, that key technical level. Let's see if we can build a foundation, a base at VWAP, and we did. So we've been making higher lows, higher highs. I've got a beak wetter set up at 595, 99s. Let's see if we get that triggered. We're at 97s now. We're awfully close, and there it is. We go to the high side. We're long 593.83. We just touched 596 now. NVDA has been doing the dance with no pants. South of 600 going on 2 days now. We're almost at day's high. Day's high is where, you ask? 596.37. We just broke 596 right now. So let's see if we can get that continued run up on NVDA. It's a little bit flat percentage-wise on the day. I mean, not flat price action-wise. Percentage-wise, we're down 0.07%. So we're going to have to see what kind of move we get up. We're going to set up another beak wetter here at Dara at the $half, 596.49. Let's put it there, because what is life, obviously, without Wednesday? The other trade that I'm in, not so good at the moment. We're I think a penny out of the money. Yeah, 2 pennies out of the money on Rumble. RUM. Shout out to. What's going on? Okay, so there's no topic. Ram, the position board, I mean, not the position. Oh, yeah. The, what's it called? Stream Deck, not working right now either. Ram's all alone today, so we really got to cut her some slack. She's on her own. The Chilean Nightmare is still under the weather, so just pack your patience with us today, guys. If we, we've got some technical stuff there. There goes 596.5 on NVDA. We just got another beak wetter there. Where can we go up to, Adair? Well, let's look at the pre-market action on NVDA. I'm sorry the lesson's starting a little bit late today, but we want to talk about some of this trading because it's hot right now. Now, we got the pivot point, Adara, at that 597.5. And as our viewers will know, pivots are based upon yesterday's price action, which is important, right? So I'm looking at a pre-market high here of around 598 and change, and a pivot point of 597 and 2/3. There goes 597 on NVIDIA. It is absolutely pumping to the high side here, and I don't know why it decided to pump now, but it is pumping now, and looks like we may get a 600 move today. Like maybe we could get another rejection off 600. If that's the case, absolutely, we would accept that. because while we're long down there, now we have very little amount of size left on NVDA here, so we're going to have to be more selective with where we wet our beak from here on in. But suffice it to say, good move off VWAP. It held VWAP to a T. I'm talking about NVIDIA. Let's see if we can get maybe a possible move into the key levels we identified. The other one, Rumble. There we go. On Rumble, we print to the high side here, Dara. A couple of beak wetters at 590 and 595. I'm sitting 1 penny in front of 6 on RUM at 599. How's your look over there? I see you're in something as well.
Yeah, I'm in Meta. Also, that one's ready to rumble there. Good luck on that, and congrats on those trades. I am in Meta. I did get in right at this 387. Why? Because I was like, oh, higher highs, higher lows. Now, the one thing that made me nervous is I was like, this could be a little retracey, because this is the same area where we had that kind of movement earlier, right? So I was like, this could be a bit of a head and shoulders forming, but I was like, there's really no sign of that. We're super up on the day, higher highs, higher lows. I was like, let's just dip our toes in here. We did dip our toes, and then we wet our beaks at 387.50 because I was noticing we're having a little bit of trouble at the 387.25 area. I also kind of liked the idea of this kind of where these candles kind of broke up there, that 387.50. Took out some profit there. It looks like I maybe should have taken a bit more profit out there because that 387.50 seems to be an area we can't really eclipse right now. But, you know, if we get back to the 387.50, I'll just take more profit there then. The initial plan was to take the rest out at 388, or knowing these mega caps, sometimes you have to go like that 387.99 because sometimes they have a hard time with these whole dollar levels. But alas, we're going to see what we do here. I really like the support we have at that 387. We dipped a little bit below. We bounced right back up. Also, like my stop, like where I'm planning on getting everything out, if we decisively break below that 386.50, because that was where we had a little bit of consolidation earlier. So that's just areas I'm keeping my eye on. But yeah, I would like to ideally, if we come back to that 387.50 area, take the profit out there. Say sayonara to Meta.
And Ram is back in business, baby, because we've got the topics and we've got the position board. It is all good. Ram, if you have an opportunity, can we restart there? We go. Ram's on it, bro.
Killing it.
She knows what she's doing back there. All right. Let's get to work now, Dara. Let's load up the lesson over here and bring in the pictures, because well, we're talking about candlestick patterns and we got to show you some pics. So here we go. All right, and that's not a Dak Prescott thing, I promise. All right, hanging man. Kind of, you know, a bit of a you know, let's just call a spade a spade. Let me just load this up over here. Where are we got? There we go. Hanging man is the first pattern we're going to be talking about. If I can just load that up. What is going on? Sorry, give me a second here. Eek, there we go. Hanging man. All right. Sorry. All right, the hanging man is a bearish equivalent of a hammer. It has the same shape, but it forms at the end of an uptrend. So remember how we were talking about the hammer candle and how the body was a lot higher to the top of the candle and it was characterized mostly by a bottom wick, a long bottom wick? Well, it's kind of the same thing, only it's red and you find it in a different area. So where we found the hammer candle at the bottom of a downtrend, so it was preceded by a move down. Yesterday's bullish hammer candle typically is preceded by a price action down. This one is the inverse of that. So it is the hanging man and it is preceded by a move up. So typically you'll have an uptrend and you'll be characterized here with a red candle rather than a green candle. However, that is kind of one of those rules that you don't have to stick to necessarily. It can be red or green, but it's better obviously as a red because you're looking for the move down off that, essentially that move up. So it indicates that there was a significant sell-off during that particular candle, but that buyers were able to push up the price again, and you'll be able to notice that obviously because, well, you wicked down, but then the buyer stepped up, said, no you don't, and pushed you right back up. However, you close red, right? And the large sell-off is often seen as an indication that the bulls are losing control of the market. Now, you know that the bulls were in control prior to that because what preceded the candle was an uptrend. So you knew bulls were in control. Now this is kind of giving you the hint that, well, look, they may not be in control as much and be on the lookout for this one single candle. But again, you need to look at multiple characteristics preceded by an uptrend, a long lower wick, and ideally the candle closes red as opposed to green. So that is what you're looking for here. That is the hanging man candle. Anything to add or say to that, Dare?
Yeah, no, I think it's just, it's interesting. It's another one that kind of tripped me up, much like the inverse hammer, like we were talking about yesterday with the inverse hammer. I used to always think that one was bearish because we had that movement where you have like those failed buyers and then they're kind of getting eaten up by sellers, right? So I always assumed, oh, you have to short that. No, and same with that candle. Just because you see this candle does not mean you need to go long.
No.
And I also think like probably some of this is you need to look for context or dare I say confluence before making these moves. Like the candles on their own aren't going to necessarily always be there, right? You need to like what kind of trend are we in? So in that case, uptrend, especially if there's a red candle, I think a lot of it context is really key, and I just wanted to touch on that because I mentioned that earlier as well. Yeah.
Yeah, just quickly, I just want to look back here at my NVIDIA trade because we're rejecting off that 597-ish area and coming back. Let's see what we do at 595. We're in the high 595s right now. The Rumble trade doing well. We wet our beak through 6. We did move past 6, guys. We got into 605 on RUM. So we've had 4 beak wetters. We don't have as much on the Rumble trade as we do on, well, we did on the NVIDIA trade. So we're going to be taking out less of the position here on Rumble, hoping, well, no, I don't like to say hoping, but anticipating a move possibly into 6 1/4. That is where the IB high was at that. The high, I believe, is 628 right off that open there. So we'll see what, number one, can we get through 6, and number 2, can we make it into those highs? Size keeps recycling at 6, I should say. So even though we broke through $6, the size on the ask keeps showing up. It's not, you know, gargantuan at the moment, but it keeps, you know, I keep seeing triple digits show up at the whole dollar level, even though it gets broken through. So it looks like shorts reinstituting their position or re-upping whatever at that whole dollar level. Not surprising there. So we'll have to wait and see what we get. Oh, there goes NVIDIA back down to 595. At some point here, we're going to have to put in a trailing stop. And I'm going to say it's going to be the break of this trough over here. So we kind of made our move up. Right over here, look at this at the price action at 1056 right before we came on. We moved right back down to 594 1/3. I'm going to say a 594 1/3 break is going to be the end of the trade for me on NVIDIA. It's about $1 south of where we are right now. But yeah, I'm just going to send it to you because I have to put in my stop, okay?
Yeah, for sure. So I talk about this meta trade because we did exit. I took, like I said, part of this out at this 387.50, and I talk sometimes about my scalping, how I like these, like, you know, these little like top of the candle or inter-candle trades. Unfortunately, this wasn't intra-candle or intra-candle, sorry, because we did a couple candles later. But I do like, you know, we had sort of this top of this 387.50. You should have taken everything out there. Alas, I did not. Then I kind of scalpulated, and by that I mean looking at the book, looking at levels of resistance and support, and taking the rest out there. I noticed that we were having a hard time eclipsing anything above that 387.20, so took out the rest there. We kind of dropped a little bit lower afterwards. Also, I don't know if I, you know, because much like finding chart patterns in the wild, you don't want to like look for candlesticks where they aren't there, right? That being said, I think this is kind of interesting, this wick down, sort of a bit of a hanging man kind of moment here, right? Because we did have that top wick to the upside, but look, we also had a red candle after some uptrend. We're also up on the day. And then we had that move to the downside, and then buyers eating it back up. So I'm not going to say that that is what it is, but I think certainly the tail of this is kind of interesting with regards to the conversations we're just having here about those candles.
Thank you for covering.
Oh, no worries, not a
problem. Put that in. All right, guys. Next on the list, the shooting star. All right. Very similar to that inverted hammer candlestick that we talked about yesterday. However, much like the preceding candlestick pattern that we just talked about, this one also is preceded by an uptrend. So you're going to notice that as a theme, just like yesterday where we were preceded by downtrends and then we found a pop off that one candle or the series of candles. Today we're going to be preceded by an uptrend and then we're going to trend down. So that's what you're going to notice today. So the shooting star is the same shape as an inverted hammer candle, but it is formed in an uptrend. It has a small lower body and a long upper wick. Very easy to tell there. Small lower body closes towards the bottom of the candle with a long upper wick. Now this one could also end up green or end up red. What it's showing you here is that even though buyers were in control from basically from this trend onwards, and even getting this specific candle to pop into its highs, bears or short sellers, whatever, instituted here and basically started taking control away from the buyers. And so obviously what you want to see following this particular candle is a newer candle or newer red candle to make a newer low. And you don't necessarily want to see it make a newer high either. So this upper wick on the shooting star candle, you don't want to see the subsequent candle after that make a newer high. What you want is definitely the making of a newer low. So usually the market will gap slightly higher on the opening rally to an intraday high before closing at a price just above the open, and that is what characterizes basically a shooting star, which is like a star falling to the ground, and that's why they call it a shooting star, because basically the body of it is the star, and then it's coming off the upper wick going to the lower. I didn't name them. I'm just saying what it is, right? So this is one where it's obviously a bearish reversal pattern, because again, it's preceded by an uptrend. And I am now out of NVIDIA Adera as we broke through that 594 and a third. So I did put a trailing stop on this, and so I may end up getting bamboozled here as we could possibly wick back up, especially in light of the fact that VWAP is south of where we are right now. We're at 594 and VWAP is at 593 and a quarter. So let's see what NVIDIA does here at VWAP. If it does get support, last few times it touched VWAP today, it was able to bounce off. So we're done right now for this NVDA trade, but we could definitely get back into it if there is a successful VWAP bounce at that 593, 593 and a quarter. Let's go into Rumble here. Back down we go on RUM. However, as you very aptly pointed out to me before we came on the air, and I asked you, Adara, what do you think about this Rumble trade? You're like, dude, it's making higher highs and higher lows. You didn't say dude, but
yeah, I mean, I didn't say dude, but I mean, I'm okay with the paraphrasing. Yeah, I'm not gonna like sue here. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Right. So you were good with it because I think that you saw the continuation of the trend, the higher lows and the higher highs. Yeah. So where does that end? Where does that end? Well, I'm going to go ahead and earmark this area over here at let's say 565 as the newer low, and I've got my stop in it already, so there's nothing for me to adjust. If it breaks this trough over here, and by this trough, I'm talking about that 565, 563-ish area. If it breaks that's the end of my trade. We're already positive on it. I'm not going to give too much back, but that's what that is there. Let's bring in, what happened over here to my room? There we go. All right, let's continue on. So do you have anything to say
I
about
was
the
just
shooting
going to
star?
say,
Yeah,
I think, I apologize, don't see who this was in the chat. I forget now, but whoever it was, thank you very much. Someone saying that there was an AMD shooting star on the 5-minute. And I kind of think I see it. So I think I like this. We did have, I mean, we're not super in an uptrend, right? We're slightly down on the day, but we did get to this 168.50, and look at that top wick there. We have some buyers here, and then we also close red.
Yes.
And then it's followed by a red candle. So I have to say.
And you weren't wrong. It was preceded by a bit of an uptrend, even though it's not that on the day, but the price action preceding it was like $1, almost $2 of a move there.
Oh, it was like a $2. Yeah, actually, exactly a $2 move. So yeah, I appreciate that, and I do appreciate whoever it was in the chat saying this AMD. I apologize, I did miss your name here, but much appreciated for the call out there. We love finding examples in the wild, as Zeal was mentioning there too. We love seeing these in the wild trades. So if anyone sees any candlesticks, anything like what we're mentioning here, these bearish patterns, always let us know.
Absolutely. All right, next on the list, the bearish engulfing candle. And we talked about the bullish engulfing candle yesterday. Today we're going to be talking about the bearish engulfing candle. It is basically the opposite of a bullish engulfing candle. It engulfs the green candle preceding it, which it also is preceded by an uptrend. So easy to characterize over here. You have a nice move up and the price action preceding the candle, and then the last green candle is engulfed entirely. Its price action is engulfed by the subsequent red candle. So a bearish engulfing pattern occurs at the end of an uptrend. As you can see here, the first candle has a small green body that is engulfed by the subsequent red candle. So this is a 2-candle pattern, if you want to call it that, where there's got to be 2 candles here that you need to analyze. It signifies a peak or slowdown of the price movement and is a sign of an impending market downturn. The lower the second candle goes, the more significant the trend is likely to be. So the more engulfing it is of the green candle preceding it, the worse off it is likely to be that the impending downtrend. So here's what we're looking at. You have a high on this green candle over here, low over here, and the red candle subsequent to it basically encapsulates. Yeah, I didn't want to say engulf again. Encapsulates the whole of the green candle's price action. And what you are looking for here is the length of the red candle. The longer, the worse off the likely downtrend, impending downtrend will be. So this is what they call a bearish engulfing candlestick pattern, and it requires the analysis of 2 candlesticks, the green and the red one. Anything on this one there?
Yeah, no, I think this one.
You have to. I don't mean to put
you
on the spot.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'll probably have more stuff on this
Sure.
later, but yeah, I think it is interesting. Like I said, I think similar to that point 1 from yesterday, where it's like you kind of have to measure like how much is engulfing, right? So I think it definitely depends on the context. Use your judgment, and then sometimes what I like to do too, and some people were mentioning this yesterday as well. I believe we are talking about this in the chat. Just like sometimes like waiting for confirmation, right? Because some people were asking about entry yesterday. I think sometimes you want to wait like maybe one more candle so you don't rush into it, especially with something like an engulfing where they're kind of hard to tell at times. But yeah, I guess that's my thought on that.
Love it. All right. Next on the list, the evening star. I feel like this is like something to do with like the 3 wise men or something. It's like the North Star, the evening star. Yeah. Anyway, no, kidding aside, the evening star is a 3 candlestick pattern over here. So we have to look at 3 different candlesticks to analyze the entire pattern itself. It's a 3 candlestick pattern that is the equivalent of the bullish morning star. Remember the bullish morning star from yesterday? This is the opposite of that, the evening star pattern, okay? And it is formed of a short candle sandwiched between a long green candle and a large red candlestick pattern. So that's easy over here. We can tell that this candle is a doji, and a doji in isolation typically is a candle of indecision where the upper wick and the lower wick are equidistant or similar in length, and the body of the candle is quite small. So that's what we're seeing here. And then for this particular pattern, we need a big green candle preceding it and a red candle subsequent to it, a large red candle subsequent to it. So it's sandwiched in between these 2 big price days. And it's actually reflecting a day of indecision, right? Based upon the small body and the low and the short low and the short upper and lower wick, okay? It indicates the reversal of an uptrend and is particularly strong when the 3rd candlestick erases the gains of the first one. And so this is what they're talking about here. So this is the first candle we're looking at, and this is the 3rd. And so when the 3rd candle erases the entire move or more of the first candle, the 3rd candle erases the entire move or more of the first candle, it is looked at as even more bearish. And then obviously the candle subsequent to the first red candle should make a newer low. So that's what you're looking at there. So very, very interesting stuff. It is the exact opposite, guys, of the bullish morning star. We call this bad boy the evening star.
Maybe we call it the evening star because the bears have awoken. Yeah, kind of all very intense. But yeah, no, I think that's an interesting look too. And I think also, yeah, like I think too, this one I think is a little bit easier to read than some of them, much like the morning star's counterpart, because you can see like, hey, we have literally the bears are chomping up all the movement the bulls made, right? We have that pause. Then we have the bears rising, coming out of hibernation. So I think this pattern to me is a little bit easier to read, I think, than some of them. And yeah, I think they're all really going to kind of depend, like the longer you watch them too. But I know some people were in the chat were saying like, I've spent like, some time watching patterns. And I think, the more time you spend watching anything, especially like these candlestick patterns, which are super temperamental and really depend on context. I think definitely part of that as well.
Temperamental, I like that. Yeah, they are a temperamental bunch, aren't they? All right, guys, the next on the list, 3 black crows. All right, so let's talk about this bad boy over here. The 3 black crows. Don't ask me, Katina, man. I don't make up the names. The 3 black crows candlestick pattern comprises of 3 consecutive long red candles with short or non-existent wicks. And so that's what we're seeing here. So you got really small wick on the first one, almost a non-existent on the second one, and again, a very, very small one. So what you're looking for here is an open at the high, obviously, and a close near the low. And so you don't want there to be too much indecision. And indecision is characterized by long upper and lower wicks and a smaller body. Here, you're getting a very decisive move on the close where you're closing near the lows. So that's what it's looking for. You're looking for 3 consecutive long red candles with short or non-existent wicks. Each session opens at a similar price to the previous day, but selling pressure pushes the price lower and lower with each successive close. And what basically you should look at here, traders interpret this pattern as the start of a bearish downtrend as sellers have overtaken the buyers during these 3 consecutive trading days. And as with every other trend that we were talking about, it is typically preceded by an uptrend. So you typically have, before the 3 black crow candles show up, you have a nice symphony of green candles to the upside, making higher highs and higher lows. So you're looking for 3 decidedly red candles, successive one after the other, and you're looking for very small or non-existent wicks, okay? And what it's showing here is the start of a bullish downtrend. So this one is called the 3 black crows.
Yeah, and what I like too about this example is they show like after the 3 black crows, there's a little green candle. There's, tiny, and that doesn't mean, automatically we'll have straight bullish movement to the downside. It just means that clearly this trend is bullish. So I think that example is pretty cool. I also want to put out there, seeing some whispers in the chat about what time frame, and as you were saying, it's fractal. Do you know what I mean? So you can really it can be at any time frame, but it's stronger the wider the time frame it is. Which is kind of, I guess, the case for a lot of these patterns too, right? Also, there's another thing. Oh yeah, so the other thing too, someone's saying here that candles can make you a little bit too slow to react to entry. And the thing is too, it's like about balance of the evidence. As you always say, I'm just gonna shout out Sharif there. We wanna look at this, bringing it back to law, like without a reasonable doubt. You wanna look at the entire case, right? So candlesticks can be part of your evidence. And sometimes I look at wicks as part of my evidence for entry of trades, but nothing should ever be the entire reason you enter, and I think candlesticks are part of that.
I absolutely agree. And keep in mind, guys, that if you're saying, look, it's going to take you a long time to react because you're going to have to wait for the candlestick to close, well, that's fine. Not everybody's trading on a 1 minute or a 3 minute. You see the Kenobi, he's always trading off, he's charting off the 15, entering off the 5. We've talked about how Steph does it. She charts off 1, enters off a different time frame. So everybody's going to have different time frames. So if you're entering on a wider time frame, say the 15 or the half or whatever, this is fine for you. I mean, you don't have to be first. Again, I always want to stress what the floor manager used to say here. I don't want to anticipate, I want to participate, okay? With confirmation, go. All right, last but not least of the bearish candlestick patterns today, Adara, we have the ominous sounding dark cloud cover. This sounds like, a lot worse than it is, obviously, but it's very much like the other one we were talking about yesterday, the piercing something or another. The dark cloud cover candlestick pattern indicates a bearish reversal. So a black cloud over the previous day's optimism. And so obviously if you have a optimism from the previous day, you typically have a nice green day, and that's what we have in this candlestick pattern over here, okay? It's comprised of 2 candlesticks, so it's a 2 candlestick pattern assessment, a red candlestick which opens above The red candlestick opens above the previous green body and closes below the midpoint. Do you remember this one from yesterday? The piercing something, or no, I forget what was it called. What was it called? Piercing something?
I also only called it the piercing something or other.
Yeah.
I wish I had. Wait, let
well,
me
I'm going to have to find out now because I just can't be doing
piercing
these
line.
Yeah, hold on. Well, I'm going to find out.
It's called the piercing line.
Is it?
Yeah,
I think you're right, actually. Yeah,
yeah.
You're way better memory than me.
Well, I didn't remember. I had to
piercing
check,
line. Thank you for that. Yes. So, just to reiterate here, it comprises two candlesticks. The red candlestick opens above the previous green body. So there's you have the opening range over here because it's a red candlestick. So we know the upper part of the body is the opening print. So this is the highest price of from the previous day, and that's the open. So right off the bell, you think, okay, we're going to do well, and then the body closes below the midpoint of this green candle over here. Okay, so we know the close is here and the midpoint is somewhere in between. So that is basically how that, and what it's signaling here is that bears have taken over the session, pushing the price sharply lower. If the wicks of the candles are short, it suggests that the downtrend was extremely decisive. Meaning what? Meaning that you're closing at the low of day. So when we talk about having long upper and lower wicks, typically it's more characteristic of a day of indecision. But when you have an open at the high and a close at the low, you have a very decisive day. The market is sending you a signal saying, no, so strong was the selling on that day that even the buyers, the few buyers that are out there couldn't even push this off the low, and it ended up closing at low of day. So that's what we're looking for here. If the wicks of the candle are short, it is suggesting that the downtrend was extremely decisive. And in this case, they're not really that short. I mean, I guess what's short here is in comparison to the body of the candle. And so what could be short on one candle could be long on another. So you're going to have to make your own assessment there. So that is what we call the dark cloud cover. All right, hope that helps. All right, guys, we're getting a bit of a I'm back to trading now. Bit of a bounce here off that 594 level on Nvidia, Dara, and it's making me feel a little silly because we got out on a trailing stop over here, thinking we were going to make our way down into VWAP, and then we were saying that if Nvidia made its way back into that 593.5, which is VWAP, we'd be looking to possibly get another long trade on this bad boy. But alas, it did not come down into VWAP, and now it's above 594, trying to do the dance with 595. We'll have to wait and see what we got. But there goes Rumble again, over $6, and we got the beak wetter there at 605. So now we're going to start looking at possibly a 610 print here, Adara, and we were awfully close. The Katina Man, what are you printing on, sir? $2. The Katina Man is now $2 in the money on AFRM. So if you've been following the Katina Man's trade from the morning show, he is now $2 in the money on the firm. Any plans that I should? Okay, he's holding. He's holding that one.
He's got Rumble at 540.
And he's got Rumble at 540. So yeah, you do the math there. Yeah, that's like literally right here.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's a big boy move. They call that.
Look at the top right.
All right, I've been handed the sticky note, and I've been asked to read the top right portion of the sticky note. 540 long and under Rumble. Rumble 540 long looks likely to hold 5. Shout out to the Katina Man and the sticky note there.
Go sticky note. Yeah, sticky note nation. Oh, here's Mr. Travolta.
Oh, hello.
Yeah. Just saying hello.
He always, I'm a little off-put by his ponytail there. I gotta tell you.
That has to be Pulp Fiction Travolta, right?
Sure.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, that's a great movie. And yeah, just his ponytail is, I think, might be longer than mine. It's certainly a look. Also, a look. I've been looking at Nvidia. I was considering a long on this one, but I'm happy I waited because we just made it like a lower low, not a new low, mind you, but like out of this pattern, right? So if I were to draw this trend line, and we know I sometimes struggle with this, but trying a little bit every day. Someone in the chat, I believe Vin, was telling me it's easier if you switch to line charts. So sometimes when I have time, I'm going to set that up. But for now, we're just going to draw my questionable trends with the candles. Look, we just made a lower low out of this trend. So I think that 594 break's a little bit scary to me. I would not also, I don't think for myself, take this beyond 596. Why? Because NVIDIA and 596, yesterday, that was a level, no, yesterday I think 598 was the level, but today, like, look at NVIDIA 596. We bounce off it, we come back, bounce off, come back, swoop back below, and then look where we're kind of topping and turning around, that 596. We did break above it while Sharif was in it, so congrats. We did break above that 596, and then we dipped right back down, right?
Yes,
so
ma'am.
I think NVIDIA 596 is kind of an area of interest to me. Also, I said NVIDIA 594, now we're back to NVIDIA almost 595. So I think I'm just gonna let her do her thing, 21 for now, because this is not a trait for the faint of heart, as we were talking about yesterday. NVIDIA is not for the faint of heart. And I think right now I just need to decide what direction this one is gallivanting in, and I can move with it. But I think she needs to make that decision for herself first.
All right.
Also, I wasn't an Amazon trade I'd like to talk about. I am not the Amazonian. I am not the Amazon whisperer. Shout out as always to Obi. I guess I did not whisper properly to this stock. Basically, what I saw here was look at this top at this 155.20 area. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we have this swoop down. Sellers like whack-a-moling, the buyers back down, and then we kind of come into this consolidation area, come back right back up, right? Saw this pattern. I saw we were at that 154.90. I liked it. What I should have done, we're having candlestick day, Dara. Why didn't I do this? Look at these like wicks of these sellers eating up buyers here. I really should have seen that as, even though we were at this level, I should have seen it as a sign. Alas, I looked past it. I got out, we made a new low. I said goodbye. Looks like we might be getting some steam back at this earlier pre-market consolidation level, but I think I'm gonna have to stay away from the jungle for now. I am not the Amazonian. But also Meta, I'm looking at getting back in Meta for...
it just bounced off pivot, just so you know.
That's pivot too.
Yeah, like let me just bring it in so people know what I'm talking about over here.
Thank you.
If we're able to. META, awfully strong. The Neil pointed that out on the morning show. It knocked on the door, Adara, of 389. So technically the high of day, 388 and a third. It's now come down to 384 and a half. And that green line on my screen there, you see that? That is pivot point, and it's right at 384 and a half. And look at that. This candle, what we were talking about yesterday, preceded by a downtrend, and there it is. Let's see if we actually get this manifestation of this candlestick pattern. But just wanted to point that out to you.
Yeah, thank you for letting me know about that, because I noticed this. Like we have this little, buyers getting. We had some selling here, and then the buyers eating it right back up to that 385. So I think that's an interesting look. Yeah. And I appreciate that it's also a pivot because, other factors of note here. These candles are a little bit hard to read. This one's almost a doji, except for a little skinny body there. Mm-hmm. And then the next candle looks like we also might have some sellers or some buyers getting eaten up by sellers. So I'm going to have to wait and see here. But I'm looking at Meta 385 either direction. I did take that baby long here earlier, but nice. I am not biased. I will let Meta tell me in what direction this gets traded. Also, Kendall Lopez saying there was an evening star on the BBY chart on the daily, January 2nd. Let's look at Best Buy. Oh. Thank you for pointing that one out, Kendall Lopez.
Cool. The daily, he said?
Yeah, the daily, January 2nd. I like the specificity. Mm-hmm. So evening star, January 2nd.
What do you got?
Oh, I see. Okay, there was an evening star. So we were in an uptrend, a little bit of an uptrend starting on December 22nd. Then we have this red candle, and then we have that kind of top wick here. Buyers, and then the buyers over on the sellers a little bit, and then we fly back down.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
I think that's a nice look, Kendall Lopez. And that downtrend is still kind of went on until January 18th.
Yes, ma'am.
So I think that's an interesting look. 'Cause the thing, too, is I find, like, no snowflakes look like, no candles would necessarily look exactly alike, too.
That's what I was just going to say to you. Just because we're showing you pictures of these beautifully crafted, perfectly looking candlestick patterns doesn't mean they're going to show up in the wild that way. Very often, they actually won't. They're going to be much more convoluted and packed within a lot of distorting candles. So a lot easier to see when we show you these simple pictures. A lot different in the wild and in real life, of course. Let's get to Rumble. Look at Rumble go through 615, baby. We just got a print there at 615. It is now cleared $6 with some vigor. And what I like about this stock is not that, it's giving you pullbacks. So I love that, especially if it's trending, and then it gives you multiple pullbacks for an entry opportunity. But the trend is intact. It's got this consistently higher highs and higher lows going on the better part of an hour now. So we based out here at around 10:06. We made a higher low at around 10:30. So that was where, I started suspecting that this would be an interesting trend. When I really liked it was when it broke this crest over here on the higher low, and then it made a higher high. I said, okay, this is really interesting. Started watching it. It broke VWAP, and then on the little bit of a dip, we got in here at 577, and we haven't looked back. This one continues to make higher highs and higher lows. Rumble, in case you're wondering what the hell is going on, this is a multi-day runner. It had a different catalyst yesterday with Portnoy and Barstool. Today, it's got a new catalyst reinvigorating the bull case for it. Basically, it's going to give creators many more opportunities to be able to simultaneously broadcast their feed on multiple different broadcasting platforms, whether Twitch, YouTube, whatever else is out there. Rumble's giving you that today. I think there was another headline as well that might have been with that. But yeah, another 25% day. You know, this probably was on the radar because of the recent move up in DWAC. You know, and then this put this on some people's radar as well. So we'll see if we can continue to take advantage of it. Let's go ahead and do a bit more of a wider perspective chart analysis on it, because we've been looking at the 1 minute. And there's only so much we can see on the 1 minute Adara. So as you can see yesterday, we ran in the aftermarket as well on Rumble. So we did well. Yesterday's closing print, so the technical official close on Rumble yesterday for January 22nd was $4.90. But look what we did in the aftermarket yesterday. We popped up to a healthy 611, all right? And we sold off a little bit going into 8 p.m. We came down to about 5 3/4. Then 4 a.m. hit this morning when I can start trading on my platform, and a lot of other people can't. And look at it absolutely skyrocket off its opening print there at 5 2/3, and then it got almost up to $7, got up to $6.92, and then sold off aggressively by the end of 4 a.m. Around 5 a.m. It was trading right at yesterday's close at that 490 area. Okay, so here's what we're going to look at. We're going to look at some of the number one. We have a high a day of today of 628. So definitely looking at that 628, 630 level as an important level. Should we be able to break 628, the high of day today, then we have to start looking at the pre-market high, which, you know, albeit on much lower volume, but a price nonetheless. I'm going to say let's look at for 6 3/4, maybe even a 7 if we get really aggressive today. But the first step that we got to clear is that high at day, 628. We're at 614 right now, so we're not awfully far from it. And if you look at this trend, this is a hell of a trend. If you know, if you're a momentum trend trader like myself, you like to see that. So great look on Rumble, 628, guys. If you are looking to de-risk a little bit, should be one of the levels you are looking at. The other small cap gapper du jour, let's call it that, RVSN day 2 Adara. You put this on the watch list, and it's gotten now another day of good moves. So this one absolutely skyrocketed yesterday morning. At its high, it was up, I think, around 130%. Today, no slouch either. So far today on RVSN, we're up 114%. Yeah, and this one really got going there after the pre-market because it did a bit of a double top in the pre at that $3.88 level, and it took that. It took it decisively. We made a high of day now of 504 on RVSN. Just to give you a little bit of detail on this name, let's talk about float. Let's talk about some other stuff. 1.18 million share float. Micro float, guys, very dangerous, and you know it could turn against you in a second. Let's find out what the short float, if any, on this name, RVSN. Shout out to Trade Ideas and their crew. Negligible, can't even talk today. Negligible short float, 1.38%. So not a big amount of the float there is shorted. So we'll have to wait and see what this one does. But great look on RVSN. We'll talk a little bit about our NVVE a little bit later. It is at VWAP right now, so you know it's not pressing or anything.
Yeah, it said NVVE WAP. That didn't really work. It worked better in my head, I have to say. I took the L on that wholeheartedly. Also, though, I'm looking at Meta. because we did have that nice bounce off that 385. Probably should have gotten involved when I was first kind of curious about this, but I have to say these failed wicks to the upside made me a little bit nervous. Now we're at that 385 50 area. Depending on how we do here, because that was where we had some candles of interest earlier, I think we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I would probably take part of this to that just above 386, the rest of that crest of that around that 387 area where I entered that long earlier, because 387 held like a glove once we got to 387.
Oh, yeah.
So I just want to wait for another candle here to see if we continue to the upside or the downside. If we continue to stay strong at 385.50, I have no qualms about just scalping this. I mean, clearly I do not. That is what I like to do. But also, I'm not going to lie, I do have RVSN on my side chart. Kind of like the look of this, higher highs, higher lows. The one thing that, and it's holding this 9 EMA beautifully. The one thing that makes me a little bit nervous is I was seeing apparently like on, because you know, like I said, looking for Twitter for news and moving stocks. Some people on Twitter saying that the RVSN kind of has some like little weird algo spiky moves, which makes me a little bit nervous. Also, this one I think was moving a little bit last week as well. I want to pull up the daily to prove that, so I'm not just speaking. Yeah, I guess a little bit last week, definitely more like the last 2 days and especially today. But yeah, I mean, because I know I saw some news on it on Benzigo last week, but I think, yeah, today and yesterday definitely did the big moves on this. But I know one of the things you said as well when you look for your small cap runners is, did it move in the past? And this one we know can run, so that could be an indicator for me there.
That's like the first thing I look at. Is it a former runner? And I go to the daily, I look for these topping tail candles, you know what I mean? That gave back the majority of the move. Big Kyle Burdett, my man, $10 super chat for Kyle. Appreciate you, Kyle, as we always do. Sharif, looking to short the ES here if this bull flag on the hourly breaks down. I need 48.75 to break and hold as resistance, then enter. Looking for 50% retrace of flagpole. Shout out to you, Kyle. I think you have the level bang on there. As I said at the big desk this morning when I was doing the ES look, 48.75 support, 4,900 resistance. I think that's held out. Let's pull up the ES and see if I was right on that or not. Let's pull up our friend, Mr. S&P ES. Oh, wow. 48.74.25, the low of day. So that 48.75 held for all intents and purposes. And we're bouncing back up right now, Kyle. Looks like to 48.80. I still think the trend is in your favor, Kyle, because we have lower highs and lower lows on the ES right now. We're also sub VWAP, and the last ascent we made into VWAP around 1110 rejected. So right now, I would say, you know, we're I don't want to say we're flat on it. We're down 0.06% on the ES. To go green, we're going to have to break above that 48.81 area. 48.81, yeah, that seems to be yesterday's closing print. So look, yeah, I don't think you were really asking my advice for anything here. I like the look. If 48.75 gives up the ghost on a closing basis, then I think you've got something cooking there, and we could possibly start trending down. Where to, though? Let's do a little bit of charting to find out where we could. Well, pivots will have you think that 48.70 is the first support level, and then the second support is at 48.60. That's if you're basing it on pivots, right? This price action you're looking at here excludes all pre-market price action. This is only regular market hours. I've removed, for the purposes of this chart, I've removed any pre-market or aftermarket trading. We'll have to wait and see. I think it's a good look, Kyle, but I think the trend of lower highs and lower lows needs to stay intact. And right now, too, the good thing is VWAP and yesterday's closing print are all on are at the same level. So 48.81 VWAP, 48.81 previous day closing print. He says, show the 1 hour bull flag. For you see that. Let's pull up the 1 hour here on. You know what? I want to pull up a different chart because this one might not show it because it doesn't have the pre-market action. So let me take this out of the way over here. It looks like I got my beak wetter there on Rumble, so I can celebrate in a second. But we're gonna show Kyle's chart first. Let's go ES. And this one will show us everything we need to see. So we're going to go mini, futures. We're going to choose the March contract. There we go. Let's go to the hourly. All right. Yes, I see what you're saying there. Okay, so 3 straight candles in a row. A bit, yeah. I see what you're looking at. It's a good look, Kyle. Let's just wait and see if that 48.75, 48.74-ish area can break. I think you're on to something here, definitely. All right, back to Rumble, here we go, $250 incoming. I think that is now the high of day on Rumble. What is the high? No, 28 is the high of day. So we said we would de-risk in anticipation of the high of day touch. That's 628. Let's go ahead and wet our beak here at the $250 Adara. So we'll take out a bit more there, and then we're going to wait now and see what we do at the high of day.
Congratulations. The beak has been dipped in. We're getting ready to rumble. I am in this meta trade. Like I said, I was kind of waiting to see, do we have some confirmation? I said I don't mind getting involved mid-move, which is a little momentum-y for my taste.
Ooh,
so a little bit of a different move for me. But I did get involved mid-candle, teeny tiny share size, just kind of dipping my toe in. And like I said, I'm going to take, I don't have enough of the position to really kind of to be doing beak wetters. What's life without whimsy? There's no whimsy here, unfortunately. This has got to be, it's got to be a little bit tighter of a trade. I'd like to take some profit out, probably around this, just above that 386, that 386.40 area, 386.50, basically where I was going to put my stop for that earlier meta long. That's where I'm going to take out my profit here. That's my my strategy on this. We're just breaking above VWAP, although again, VWAP's not always going to be an area for every stock, right? I don't really think Meta and VWAP have been besties, except for earlier today, we had that nice little bounce in the pre-market. But other than that, like nothing super significant here. Also for my stop where I'm leaving this trade, it's no longer valid. Shout out to Sharif. If I see a decisive break below that 385.50 area, that's kind of a tighter stop. But that meta 385.50, 385.70, kind of an area of interest for me, at least for that, for the purposes of this trade. Also, I'm always scalpulating, always looking at the book. If the book has a little bit of stagnance, if we kind of struggle to get above that 386, I'm going to have to be outie, going to hop in there and get out of Dodge. 2 car companies for the price of one there. But yeah, and then NVIDIA, I'm still watching NVIDIA. NVIDIA trying to figure out what it would like to be with 496. And until it does, I'm just going to have to take my hands off of the wheel there.
With the exception of that big spike in the middle there.
That you took advantage of there, go you.
I mean, it's been a little sideways. But what I do like about it, number one, it's holding VWAP, and number two, higher lows.
Yeah,
look at that.
I did like the higher lows, because I got nervous. We dipped below that 594, but then we got right back up.
Right back up.
Yeah.
Buyers really stepped in there, so that's a good look there, guys.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I appreciate
Yes, boss Ram Ram. Ram Ram's like, yo, if you're gonna talk to her way, you gotta point the mic over there. So.
Yes, boss Ram Ram. Quote of the day.
Big Kyle Burdett wants to know when Trader TV is gonna do their meetup, because we've been talking about doing like a meetup. Yeah, well, I know you're a little newer, but we've been talking about this for years. I believe. I mean, when I was a viewer, we were talking about that. I don't know, Kyle. It's gonna be interesting to see when we do, and if we do, definitely there will be all sorts of announcements. Shout out to you, and hopefully we'll be able to run into you guys. I know that the Obi, the Kenobi, saw a lot of you guys at the Money Show. Sadly, I got sick that day and I wasn't able to accompany him, but Obi said there was a bunch of viewers, our regulars, that were at the Money Show in Toronto, so I missed you guys. Obviously, I would have loved to have been there. Adara, we did break that $6.28 level on RUM. We have a new high of day on Rumble, albeit by 2 pennies. The Katina man is printing there. He took 90 cents there, baby. $6.30 new high a day now. And he got that fill. He got the fill at 30. So the Katina man printed on that bad boy on that 5. I think he got it. What'd you get in again? 5 what? 542 long on RUM. So what I'm looking for is, number one, we've touched the high a day now. We made a new high a day, albeit by 2 pennies. What do we do here? Do we encounter a clear resistance level at this point, or do we just blow through it like it doesn't really mean anything and we continue to stair step up, possibly into that pre-market high that we talked about at 4 a.m. or so? And if that's the case, it's going to take us all the way up into that 690 area. Right now, we're getting a bit of a flush back into the 6 mid-teens. We're going to pack our patience with this one. We've already de-risked into the high of day, and that was the whole point of doing that, is because I'm unsure, I shouldn't say we, I'm unsure about what's going to happen when we touch high of day, hence the de-risking. But if we continue to run through 630. I would say look at 650 first and foremost because it's a $0.5 level. Let's see if we get any psychological resistance at 6.5. If 6.5 is nothing, it's a nothing burger. Definitely looking for that 692.7 touch on RUM. We're up nicely, 26.25% on the day. Nothing to sneeze at. Multiple day runner with multiple catalysts, not one catalyst that we've been kind of riding the coattails of there. Adara, Saad Mahmoud, RVSN is moving, busting over $5. Nuts! All right, let's talk about RVSN because we did mention this one at the top of the show. Let's bring in the side charts here. Yes, there goes RVSN, and it is hugging. Like, remember when Obi said that, you know, there's this magnetic effect between the price action and certain moving averages? Well, I would have to say that that relationship exists between the price action on RVSN and this 10 EMA on my chart over here. Every single dip on the 10 EMA has been bought up and bought up nicely, and it really hasn't broken the 10 EMA like since the open. I mean, there is some perfunctory breaks here, but look at the majority of the opening and closing prints, whether the red or green candle, it is holding that 10 green. That's the green line, by the way. The 10 EMA is the green line on my chart quite nicely. It is through the whole dollar level at $5. It printed at 5.25. This one awfully strong, multiple day runner. Forget about this double top in the pre-market. What double top, right? We broke through that and then some. So, yeah, it's not always, you know, these chart patterns. Well, you did get a bit of a retracement off the double top. I don't want to say it didn't mean anything, but you got a nice move down to that $2.02 area. But RVSN looking awfully good. Fisker was another one that we were talking about in the pre today. Remember?
Yeah.
You, Neil, and I.
That was funny.
We were talking about Fisker because I was making fun of Fisker, and Neil's like, "You chose the wrong day to make fun of Fisker. It's up like whatever percent, and it's been giving up the ghost." Adara, it lost $1. It's lost its $1 status at the open there. 9:30 bell rang. Technically, the high of day is $1.03. Now we're knocking on the door of 90 pennies. We're barely trying to hold 90 pennies. So Fisker giving up a little bit of the move. If you are inclined to get long Fisker, here is an interesting area. Yesterday, it bounced off that 200 EMA on the 5 perfectly. So I'm not going to say it's below the 200 EMA right now, but what I'm going to say, price action wise, you may have something here at 85 or 86 pennies as a possible level of support, but I don't think that'll be a trade that I participate in, Adair.
No, yeah, it looks like Fisker has driven its ocean into an ocean.
Of course.
Or off a cliff like this. Because we were talking, you like, you know, you were making fun of Fisker, and Neil's like, hey, don't you make fun of Fisker today. And it's so funny, of all the random little baby stocks you could have chosen, that was the one you chose for that day.
It was completely by accident. Sorry, I have to interrupt again because Rumble absolutely tanked off that $6.30 area. Off that area where it made a new high of day. And that's what we were talking about, de-risking into high of day. And this is exactly the reason why you get a big move down. Let's watch now what happens at 6. Are we going to get a support? Are we going to get support, I should say, at the whole dollar level, psychological support, psychological resistance? We definitely had trouble breaking through 6 initially. Look at this crest over here at around 11:10 to 11:15. You had a fake breakout into 604, only to sell off aggressively here into 575. So eventually, obviously, we did get the break of 6. Now let's look for former resistance to act as support on RUM. I'm not going to be adding here, but I'm not going to be selling either. Let's watch what happens there.
Yeah, I mean, it's certain. Yeah, like this has been one of these crazy ones, and I think too, like probably, like it very much is a small cap. It kind of moves like a small cap, and then it's cool that you're able to get involved in this name. I'm still looking at RVSN, but there's no kind of dip here. I think Saad was saying in the chat that he was involved in this. Congrats to you if you are involved. What a look here. If there is another dip, I'd be sort of tempted. I would take a tiny position, just get out the newest low. That would be the look for that one. Huang family saying, praying for NVDA to close green today. And you know what? As you said that, NVDA bursting above that 596. So we're going to have to see if it keeps making higher highs, because you called it those higher lows, and that 594 hold, very impressive. We're going to have to wait and see what shakes up here. I would be tempted to do a dip play into NVIDIA. Also, I should update on my meta trade. my plan for exit was that 386.39, which I realized is a really random level, but I liked it because that was where we had this consolidation earlier, right? So I kind of was like, where are we maybe going to see an issue? Probably around this area. Bless you, Ramin. And basically what happened was I set it like 10 cents too high. We got to like that 386.35 and I was like, woo! And then we didn't get to 39. Basically I took out at 20s because I was like, this is kind of where we were having a little bit of slowdown. 50 paper penny winner as I'm in the sim. So yeah, 50 penny paper cent take there for Meta. It looks like we might be ready to burst back to the upside at 386, so I might get involved again. So Saad's saying he's not in it, but he would have taken the PM break if I was paying attention enough early. Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. But you did call it this one definitely moving. Yeah, that's the look on Meta. But now it looks like we are ready for the real deal with our pal Neil.
Thank you very much, everybody. Let's get the real deal today, and it's really about. I think there's one indicator that doesn't get used enough. I know we're talking a lot about chart patterns and candlestick patterns and setups like that, but I'm going to give you something that I look at every single day that'll give you confluence for your moves, that'll help you to maybe sniff out when a setup or a particular pattern looks better than it normally would, and a lot of times when it can be worse, quite frankly, than what it would typically tell you, and that's going to be volume. I always have volume on every single one of my charts because I think it's not just about can you identify a key place with which to execute your trades or a key price area where others are executing their trades, but you're also going to want there to be an indication that it's actually happening. It's all well and good to point at a line in a chart or an indicator and say, hey, look, this looks interesting at this price level, but if nobody else cares and the executions aren't there, then it's really not all that significant. So I want to start with something almost pretty simple here with DWAC, because, hey, DWAC's moving around, obviously, today. And the first thing you'll see is I like these obvious things, starting points like this 50 level. So look, you get the wick. There's your typical rejection candle. You're getting a lot of wick tops in here when it finds a resistance. This is 50, wick top, rejection. You're going to see another wick top rejection at 48, and then you're seeing the obvious resistance over there on DWAC. But what you're also noticing, when it fails that high, look at the transaction volume when it fails it. Now, anybody that's been following the markets, you know the two biggest volume events of the day, typically speaking, are the open and the close. So if you're doing more volume on an individual candle at 9, like this 3-minute candle here at 9:39, than you are at the open, that's significant. So when it rejects this breakout, there's a lot of people transacting there. You probably ran a lot of stops, some stop breaks long. A lot of people running to the exit when it broke as well. And then a lot of sellers joining this to the downside, so you get a big move into the downside. That's what you want to see. You want to see that relative volume at that price level, giving you the confluence, showing you that there are significant traders at that price level. And I'll give you an example here. Let's look at something else which went a little bit ham today, for lack of a better term. You know what's up. Snowflake. It's a strong trend to the upside. And in this particular case, look, you get a press to the upside, you get a very clean triple top here, and then you've got yourself a reversal candle. Now here's an example where, okay, it works to use this failed break as a short back into VWAP. Right. But the upward trend still continued higher. So this is an example where it might not be as good as you would expect to short based on the volume. Look at the amount of volume you have creeping into it on a little bit of news. And then as it gets to the high, see the volume taper off. And when it makes that break down, you're actually doing less volume as it's failing that high. So lots of volume into it, not a lot of volume failing it. It's not like you're trapping a bunch of people. And what happens? It goes a little bit, catches a higher low, and then resumes the trend back to the upside. Now, if you happen to sit this one out, it's not a bad indicator for you that, hey, it's got some strength potentially in it. What happens if it does a little bit of a reversal and it ends up joining the trend in there? It's a lot easier to join a trend without needing a tremendous amount of volume than it is to look for a trend reversal without volume behind you, because the trend is your friend. The trend is lower hanging fruit. You need more reasons to go against the trend than you should need to go with it. That's why I think the volume indicator is going to be a good one for you, because buying the dip here, you didn't get a big volume spike on this reversal wick. If we come to the chart, you didn't get a very big volume spike on that reversal wick, but you had a double bottom, higher low. It's a lot easier to join what is a forming trend than it is to fight it. Now, I'm going to show you, I love examples like this because one of the best things a trader can do is learn from their mistakes. So I'm going to set this one up for you. Rivian was making lower highs. You guys can all see this. There's one high, there's another, there's the third at VWAP, and into a flat bottom break as well. So that sets up that short in here. Now, the way I was looking at this trade was yesterday's resistance. That's about 16 bucks. I'm looking for support off that. And if it starts holding this resistance level, then I think this is rejecting the same double top, but on the higher time frame, holding previous level, and then potentially going higher for the rest of the day. So in the back of my mind, that's what I think can happen. But when it makes that bounce in front of this resistance level, what doesn't happen? See, it makes that bottom. There is the big volume candle, the biggest one it had had in a half an hour. Then the buying steps in. I'm like, okay, that's where I was looking for the buyers. Let's jam out of the trade. We got the confirmation. The buyers were where we thought we are. Just take it and run. That's it for the long trade. It's probably going to get into VWAP. Maybe we can short it back there again at VWAP if we like it. But there was no volume on that reverse. If it's such a key price level, which is why I was getting out, then why weren't there a lot of transactions? Like, look at the volume as I'm getting out. It's literally doing the least amount of volume for this so-called accumulation in front of support. Nobody was trading there. So what happens to Rivian? It just resumes the trend that it was on. So I get out looking at that key price level. That's one that could have carried a little bit longer. It's not to say that I would never cover in a situation like that. But hey, when you look at the volume transacting, it can give you a little bit of a hint. And that's all you need for the trade. You should always look for reasons to hold on to trending trades and reasons why you might not like going against the grain. Now, volume in this particular case, it would have been a reversal. You got the big move down in. It kind of rejects that low into that support, but there was no transacting volume. You see it roll back over and just continue to head lower. Volume is a very, very important indicator, and it's not just on these, like a 3-minute chart or a 15-minute chart that you should be looking at it. You should doubly care when you're looking at bigger, broader levels on the daily chart. And that's what I want to leave you with. If you don't have volume as an indicator on, one or two of your charts, I think it's an absolute must when you're popping up your daily chart. You want to see, when you're looking for those big key levels with which to transact off of, what is happening at those levels. Is there really a lot of shares changing hands, and is there a lot of interest at those key prices? When you see something like Rivian at the 15, lots of selling into it. It holds the volume when it's bouncing off a said level. And when it runs away from that level, the volume starts to taper off. And it's the same thing that happened as it got into the 15 level today. We'll see if it ends up closing, continuing to do bigger relative volume when it's underneath 16 in front of that 15. But it's giving you some confirmation that these 15, like underneath 16 into 15, is an interesting and good buy zone for Rivian for those scalp trades. So a lot of times we're always looking at chart patterns and we love trends and all that good stuff. Make sure you've got volume to give you the confluence for those trades. It can be a good reason why a decent setup might not be as good as you think, or why a good setup could be a great setup because you've looked at that excess volume when trading around those key prices. So that's the real deal today. Make sure you got volume on your charts. You need liquidity to trade. And volume is the indicator that's going to give you the idea of where it is.
Appreciate you, Neil. Very insightful as always. Absolutely bang on talk there with respect to volume. Thank you for that, Neil. While Neil was dropping hot lines, RVSN decided to turn on its turbo boosters. Look at RVSN go here, guys. I got to tell you, though, I'm not going to participate in this one, whether for a long or a short, not at this level. But if you are going to short a low float, small cap gapper, please be careful. That's all I'm going to say about that. I'm not going to belabor the point, but just, choose, be careful. Make sure that your stop, either one is a market order or number two, it has a good spread between the trigger price and the limit, because this one could absolutely squeeze, like, 25 pennies. It could be completely illiquid for a good chunk of price action there on the RVSN. So up almost 200%. What a mover it is, though. We'll see if this one continues to go. It's definitely having trouble through 7. Technically, on the day, $6.75 is the high in the 630s, 640s right now. All right, the other one that we've been watching, RUM, it retraced, like we talked about, rejected off that high a day, or just made a new high day, I should say, by about 2 pennies, but essentially the same thing. Coming back down into 6. 6 now looks like it's holding. However, we haven't made a higher high. So right now we have the holding of the $6 level, the psychological whole dollar support. However, we're waiting to see if the uptrend continues. And the only way we're going to know that is if we get a print above $6.30. We're going to need a higher high here. And if we don't, well, we're going to have to reassess the trade in general. But what a move up on both RVSN, Rumble, as well as some others. Now, Big Kyle Burdett was looking at possibly getting in short on the ES. And so I wanted to mention this for Kyle and for whoever else is interested. Guys, we've been, putting in lower highs. So we have this as the implied balance high over here at the open. And then we crested out on this attempt here at 6882, rejecting off VWAP. Now we're south of yesterday's closing print at 4881, and we're accumulating there, okay? Which rejecting off that level and off VWAP. So there is confluence between yesterday's closing print and VWAP, and we're definitely straddling that from the south side. So we haven't made a newer high, we haven't broken through VWAP, we haven't broken through yesterday's closing print, so we're gonna have to keep an eye here on the futures, but it seems awfully range bound for a day that, where I thought we would run today, personally. If you asked me at 7:30 what we would be doing, I thought we'd be up like maybe 0.75%. Right now we're awfully flat, negative 0.03% here on the ES. So make sure if you are interested in this futures trade, you are watching intently. And before I see this super chat for 1,000 somethings, I'm not exactly sure what. Pardon me? Rupees. Thank you for that, Neil. 1,000 rupees. Thank you, Lord Rangers. I'll get to that super chat in a second. I just want to mention that Rumble popped up again there into 625. So we are moving back up, possibly to that 630 on RUM. But let's, I've already got a beak wetter there through the break of the high of the at 32s. Let's see what happens. All right, Lord Ranger, can you please explain gold forecast till this weekend? I'm not sure what you mean by that. Or are you talking about what analysts are saying with respect to gold? Because if that's the case, I don't typically follow gold, not as a macro and not as a trading instrument. So I don't have anything, sadly, to add to gold. All I know is it's been straddling that $2,000 level for quite some time. Now from the north side, previously from the south side. So sorry, I can't add anything to gold. It's not one that I know too much about, and not one that I really want to, just drop hot lines for no reason,
Yeah, that's right.
Nimit, can you check another low floater? CC, it's doing much better volume than everyday rally possible. Let me have a look at SI. I don't have it on my scanner, meaning that it's probably below a certain price, because you guys know I filter my scanner based upon anything lower than 85 pennies. Yes, and I'm right. So this bad boy, SI, do you know that's the name of the president of Egypt?
Really?
Yeah, LCC.
That's a great name.
I'm telling you, I'm not even making it up.
Name.
Yeah.
If that was my name, I'd run for president too.
Yeah.
Can we blame
I don't
him?
know. When I first heard it, I was a little, I don't know. But yeah, that's his name. I mean, I'm not making it up. Anyway, CC is up 17%. The float on it, 57.6 million. It is a 16 penny stock. Yeah, we're at 16.30 right now. High day 16.90. I got to tell you, Nimit, that the volume for me ain't there. It's 16 pennies and has done 2.5 million shares. I'm going to have to say no for me for this one. But clearly, you had a nice flat top break there because a lot of rejections at this particular level, and you even had the IB high there as well at around, let's just say 16 pennies, okay? So 16 pennies was definitely a resistance level. If it comes back into 16 pennies, look for the defend. That's all I'm going to say about that. Otherwise, sadly, I don't have too much to add. Jameson, NVIDIA just hovering again at 594, 595. You're right. Adair and I have been watching that the entire morning, and NVDA has been quite consolidative. Let's pull up a trading screen here for NVDA and talk a little bit about it. Yeah, this was the long at the 593-ish area, and then we moved up all the way into 597, and then we trailed out over here through the break of 594. But look, it's holding that 594 level, but we got a lower high. So I'm a little suspicious. I don't want to say there's a trend here because it looks awfully consolidative, like the NQ. The NQ is awfully consolidative as well, very sideways. And I'm going to go ahead and say NVIDIA looks like that at the moment. So it is ranging between, it's got its peaks and troughs there. 597 to the high side, but spent very little time at 597, and then 594 to the low side, but spends very little time at 594. So the extremities on NVIDIA, you're not getting that much time in order to make the decision. Go ahead. The Katina man is telling me about Rumble. There goes Rumble to the high side, and we got a beak wetter at 33s. So this one absolutely pumping to the high side. And we were talking about this one holding 6. It held 6 beautifully, and here we go again. Great trade for the Katina man there, long in the 540s. He's almost $1 in the money. We're talking about 8 pennies or so, and we're going to be hitting that. Oh, I think he just actually hit the dollar club. But yeah, we did get a nice spike on Rumble to, let me just tell you the new high day, $5.37, up 30%. Multiple day runner, Adara. But back to NVIDIA, I got to tell you what the point I was trying to make here is it's not spending time at the extremes, whether it's 594 or 597. It's giving you a brief moment or two to be able to get in and play the range. I'm not going to play the range anymore on NVIDIA. I've done my trade on this one, and if it decides to break out or break down, then maybe we can look at it again. But right now, awfully consolidative.
Yeah, I mean, lots of consolidation here in the NQ. I've been tempted to play that NVIDIA 594, 595 range, but like I said, NVIDIA is a wild animal sometimes. It's certain, you know what I mean? Sometimes you really don't feel like NVDA or NV. There's not a great pun there. I'm often, not green with NVDA for not getting involved, so I'm gonna have to wait and see here. Apple, I tried to get a bite here. I liked this kind of curve to the upside, but I was kind of interested in that 194.63 area. Looks like we're not getting it. Basically, what I liked of this was I liked this kind of curve here on this rounded bottom pushing through VWAP. Same look we had yesterday, actually, too. The roundy face on Apple. I know you benefited from that roundy face on Apple. I got in a little bit. My entry was timed poorly, so I had to leave Apple exit stage left there. But I do think this is a nice look on Apple. If there's another opportunity for a dip buy, I'm going to take it. But I learned from this one yesterday, I don't want to go in full speed ahead unless there's a dip buy opportunity. I would be interested in taking profits at that earlier high, that 195.20. So that's about roughly a 20-cent move there. I think that's a nice look. Also, I have to shout out Charles Butler in the chat. I mentioned this in the chat as well, but I really like this pun. CC, do you love me? Shout out to Drake. Yeah, the market certainly has a lot of us in our feelings, always. But, we just got to,
CC, do you love me?
I just really enjoyed that. But, yeah, so I think basically the moral of the story there is you can't get in your feelings in the market. And it's something I really do feel. I'm still looking at RVSN, but I don't think I really have the risk appetite to get involved in this guy. I did like that pop back up at 6, but I don't trade small caps enough for me to be comfortable. Like I know I was saying, I think like Rumble is a really good move for you because you are the small cap.
Oh well, trust me, I'm not. Right? I'm not at all. But the point is, I wanted to say RVSN. I think that you're making a wise decision because you just don't really know what it's going to do at this point. And I don't, if you want to wet your beak in some small caps. This is an awfully dangerous one. 1.1 million shares, we said? What do we say? 1.1 float? Something like that? I mean, that's just tiny, Adara.
Yeah, like I know, I think, yeah, I think this is a bad decision. Like when I've done small caps in the past, they've been like small, like miners, you know what I mean? So it's like there's still some interest in those. So I think probably more of that. I appreciate the take there.
Adara, we broke through. We got to that $6.50 area on Rumble. So 6.5 in play right now, and we got a new high a day. We're in the mid 40s. We wet our beak there at 49s. But let's see now what we can do with 50. Number one, we talked about 50 being that psychological level, and there's big boy size right now at the $half area. Look at the size. So it's, you know, we're not moving above 50. So not only is there size, but there's probably some hidden sellers there as well. If we can get through 650, let's look at, there goes 650, Katina man. We are now 657. This is absolutely pumping to the high side. Sticky Note Nation, stand up, baby. It said, what would it say again? Something 540 long. 540 long. If we can continue above where we are right now, let's look at the pre-market high. The pre-market high is at $6.92 level, $7, give or take, that area. If we can get up there, I probably will be removing the entire position. But now we're going to hopefully, you know, have a bit of a vacuum between 6.5 and 7, as I didn't personally see any key resistance levels in there. I'm looking for a 690 touch, possibly a 7 touch, and a 650 hold. If we can stay above 650, let's put a beak wetter at 59s, and now restart the lesson again, Adara, as we are now past the hour mark. Let me just pull up my notes over here. There we go. Just give me a second. What is this? They're pure. That's yesterday's lesson. Okay, that's cool. And I believe I had my lesson over here somewhere.
Well, so I'm seeing apparently, sorry, just to interrupt here, Bears versus Bulls saying UVIXY, 52-week low. Also, Saad was saying we're probably not seeing much movement because the VIX is just trending down. Thank you for those VIX updates.
Yes.
Always much appreciated. And yeah, congrats to everybody in Rum. I'm seeing lots of rumble about Rumble. And really strong name. Just in time saying hit the O Canada button for Rumble, because I forgot that is a Canadian company.
Absolutely. They're down the road. They're literally down the road. Yeah, their head office is like not too far away from here. Yeah. They're like, knock on the door, be like, hello. All right.
Talking about you all day.
Yeah, right? All right, guys, let's hold on one sec, Ram. Let me just restart the stuff over here. So what's the first one? Shooting star. All right, let's go. No, hangman. There we go. Hangman. All right. First candlestick pattern, like we did yesterday, we are talking about candlestick patterns. Yesterday we did 6 bullish candlestick patterns. Today we're doing 6 bearish. Tomorrow we're going to be doing 6 continuation. Fugazi Bear, thank you very much for the $4.99 super chat. It says, thanks for Rum. No, you thank the Katina man for that stuff. Shout out Sticky Note Nation for Rumble. But let's now have a look at this hanging man pattern. What is this all about? So the hanging man pattern is the bearish equivalent to the hammer candle that we talked about yesterday. It has the same shape, but it forms at the end of an uptrend. So unlike the hammer candle that we were talking about yesterday, which was preceded by a downtrend, for this hanging man candlestick, where we need to be preceded, we don't need to be, but ideally, we need to be preceded by an uptrend because we're looking for the trend to reverse, okay? And essentially what this candle indicates is that there was a significant sell-off during the trading day, if this is a daily chart or whatever time frame you're looking at, but that buyers were able to push the price up again. So what you have here is a nice uptrend, and then we made a newer high, and then we almost made a newer low, breaking through the low of this green candle, but we don't. We just barely maintain that higher low, but then buyers step up in again to have the body close much nearer to the high, okay? And the large sell-off is often seen as an indication that the bulls are losing control of the market. And the reason that's significant is that we're talking about the bulls losing control is because the trend that preceded it was an uptrend. So clearly bulls were in control. And this is a type of candle that should give you cause for concern if you are a trend following trader, because it signifies that the trend may be coming to an end as a result of the bears or the shorts or the sellers, whatever, starting to overwhelm buyers at that particular level. So the potential direction is to the downside. So looks awfully similar to a hammer candle, but in the inverse. Adair, anything to add?
Yeah, no, I think, like I said, I said it before, I'm going to say it again. I do think with these ones, it's really important to think of the context, because I know, like I said, that one is always one that I kind of confused.
Yep.
Sometimes where I would think that it was accidentally actually going to be a long, because it shows, oh, we have some sellers, but they're kind of getting exhausted. The buyers are eating them back up, but then it ends up actually being a move to the downside. So
can I say one thing? Yeah. I think if you see multiple candles like this, like back to back, I think that would be bullish.
That's true, yeah.
Because then it would be kind of like the wick dance from the south side, from the north side, right? So you come down to say 17.5 on the NQ, you bounce back up. The second candle does it again. The third does it again. But when you see a downtrend follow that and the breaking of the key level and the making of a newer low, that should probably cause you a little bit of concern. But I do agree with you. This candle, if not seen in isolation on its own, does look awfully bullish, because it looks at the buyers are overwhelming sellers at that particular level, right? So I completely agree with you on that.
Yeah, thank you.
Mometic. Oh, one of our former sponsors. You remember Mometic? I have a hat.
I do not know Mometic.
Yeah,
but that's very cool.
Shout out to Mometic. Keep up the Momo, Sharif. Oh, yes, that's a little on the nose. Thank you very much, Mometic, for the $20 super chat. Shout out to you. And both my dad and I like your hats. Thank you. I've got the white one. He's got the black one at his place over there. But shout out to you, and I thank you for that. All right, next one on the list there, Adara. We are going to go shooting star, baby. All right, and let's talk a little bit about the shooting star. So the shooting star is the same shape as an inverted hammer, the one that we talked about yesterday, but it is formed in an uptrend, unlike the one we talked about yesterday, which is formed preceded by a downtrend. It has a small lower body, as you can see over here, and a long upper wick. Okay. Usually the market will gap slightly higher on the opening or the rally for an intraday high before closing at a price just above the open, like a star falling from the ground. So again, you need to be preceded by an uptrend. You need to make a newer high through the close of the preceding green candle, and you need to make a long upper wick and close nearer the bottom of the candle, and it also should be followed by a subsequent candle to make a new low. So what you're seeing here is basically a very characteristic of sellers or shorts overwhelming buyers at that particular level. We call this one a shooting star. It is kind of the opposite of the inverted hammer that we talked about yesterday. Anything to add there, Darren?
Yeah, for one, I'm kind of worried I got into this Apple long after Apple did that, although this candle is green, but if you see we're in an uptrend. Then we see, you know, this move up. We almost get to that 194.80, and then the preceding candle is a red candle. So hopefully, instead of buying the dip, I don't just buy into that shooting star, but I'm going to keep my eye on that, because that lesson opened my eyes up to what am I doing in this trade. Also, Neil saying, I just had to shout this out, RVSN just did the crazy up candle. So that is, you know, we talk about all candles in here. We are bearish candle day, but
guys, this is why I was telling you to be careful, not to short these type of names. Not trying to single anybody out in the chat, but low flow, small cap gappers are to be feared for short. At least I'm just talking for myself here, okay? I don't like taking these ones short. I just feel like, you know, even if you have a stop, the areas of illiquidity and the amount of areas, like it could be a 25, 30 penny area of illiquidity that you may not get filled unless it comes back down. You get filled luckily. Right now we're doing the dance with $9 in the same way that we were doing the dance with $7 earlier. That acted as a level of resistance, and it only took like 3 minutes to move up $2. 283% right now on RVSN. Obviously feeling all sorts of FOMO here, and feeling always. Look, I gotta tell you the truth. You're not the only one that feels silly for not having punched into this. Obviously, I'm feeling a little silly too. But then you start reviewing the idea in your mind, and you're like, well, where would my entry have been? Okay. So the $7 area, let's talk about the $7 area as a possible entry point. If you were taking a breakout trade there, you would have had to have at least $1 worth of stop, because it broke right back into 6. So then you're saying, okay, well, let me get long at 6. Well, what gave you the idea to get long at 6? Why? Because it's a whole dollar level? I mean, personally, to me, It's just these ones are too difficult to trade. So I'm just going to leave it there. All right, next one, Evening Star. Let's move down to, oh, wrong one over here. Let's move into the Evening Star. Shooting star, sorry, bearish engulfing. That's what we're doing now. Bearish engulfing pattern. Let's talk a little bit about that. So the bearish engulfing pattern occurs at the end of an uptrend. So like everything else we've been talking to today, it needs to be preceded by an uptrend. The first candle has a small green body that is entirely engulfed by a subsequent long red candle. So the entire previous day's green price action has to be engulfed, meaning, you know, the high of the red day has to be higher than the high of the green day, and the low of the red day has to be lower than the low of the green day, okay? It signifies a peak or slowdown of price movement and is a sign of a possible impending market downturn. The lower the second candle goes, the more significant the trend is likely to be. And they're talking about this red candle here. So the bigger, the more engulfing, I should say, the red candle is, the worse it is likely to be for the potential downtrend thereafter. So if you get, you know, right now you've got engulfed obviously from the top and bottom side, but the lower this candle is, the worse off it is set to be. Anything to add to that, Adair?
Yeah, no, like I said, I think, like, you know, all of these, it's going to really depend on context. I think bullish engulfing is one of the clearest ones, which is really cool. It's like you see, hey, there's this big red candle eating up the movement in this big green candle. And I think on the daily, this could be significant as well, I would say too, right? Because like we said, it's always going to be more significant depending on the time frame. So I think, you know, like looking at, and again, if people are seeing these in the wild, let us know. We much appreciate it because I think especially like kind of being able to see these daily trends especially and kind of see what that could be signifying for later. I think that's of interest. Also, I like this comment from Frank Jones in the chat. Shout out to Mike Jones. You know that saying that those who don't learn from the lessons of history doomed to repeat them? Candlesticks and C-stick formations are history. That's a good point. It's a good way of putting it, right? Yeah. It's like if you see what this pattern does, you know, something to heed, right? To take in mind. So I appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
Let's just look at Rumble here real quick because we're right back at 650 again. In fact, we're above 650, guys. We've got a beak wetter here at 59s. Let's see if we can continue to make the move up. I don't want to say we're having trouble with the $half area, but we're definitely slowing down around the $half area. Look at this prolonged period of consolidation. I want to say this is the longest period here we've had in terms of, you know, on the 1 minute at least the 1030, where this top has been a little indecisive as to what we were going to do. It looks like there's a lot of sellers or shorts coming in at around this 6.5 area. Let's see for how long though. There goes Rumble, new high day, Katina, man. Now we are talking about $6.60. He's $1.20 in the money on this bad boy as we continue to run to the high side. Guys, the level that I've earmarked here for a possible line in the sand is that 692.7 area. That is the pre-market high from 4 a.m. Let's see if we can get up there. We're almost a bucket. We're 577 long. Now we're 661. So let's see if we can get up into at least the 70s here so we can hit the dollar club animation. But the point is to keep your eye, number one, on the 692 area if we make it up there. I'd like to see us hold above 650 for now, though. Let's see what we got here. So Rumble looking awfully good, and it's probably a good idea to put another beak wetter at, we'll put it at 69s, because what's the life without whips? All right, back to the lesson. So now we're going to talk about the evening star. Let's talk a little bit about the evening star over here. So the evening star, this is a 3 candlestick pattern. So we're looking at 3 different candles here to analyze this. It is the equivalent of the bullish morning star. Remember the bullish morning star we talked about yesterday, where there was a doji in between 2 candles? This is the exact opposite of that. It's called the evening star as opposed to the morning star. It is formed of a short candle that is sandwiched between a long green candle and a large or long red candle to the right. So green to the left, red to the right, and a doji in the middle. That's kind of the picture we're looking for. What this is indicating is it's a reversal of an uptrend and is particularly strong when the third candlestick erases the gains of the first candle. What that means is What you're looking for on this particular candle, the red candle, is for it to give back the entire move, the bullish move that we made on the initial green candle. Like all trends today, or like all candlestick patterns that we're talking about today, the formation of these three is preceded by an uptrend in price, okay? And we were reversing off that uptrend. So that's what we're looking for. We're looking for a doji candle preceded by a long green candle, followed by a long or big red candle. And it's even more bearish when the red candle erases the entire price action of the first green candle, Adara.
You know, I think what I like about this one too is it's like, you know, you have to, because it can kind of trip you up. You have that pause and you're like, oh, it could still be long, and then that red candle. So I think even maybe like, what could be interesting too is if this happens in an area of confluence, right? If you have that move down, and it's also, you know, like maybe that's like where you set stop losses, right? Just stuff to think about it too. And I mean, it's also hard to tell because some of this you're not going to know until you're there. But I guess what I'm trying to say is they can also be a sign of when to exit a trade. Not just when to enter a trade, but also when to exit trade. Like if you're in to the upside, if you're a bull there in that stock and you're like having a good time, then the rally pauses, you're like, and then you see a red candle, maybe you would like to leave post haste, right? So I think that's something worth noting there, and just something I realized with that formation. You see some of these, and you're like, and you might want to get out too, right? Or even like those wicks where we have kind of buyers or sellers getting, you know, overwhelming when you're in one direction. Like, just different stuff to note. So I just think that's interesting and something I wanted to put out there.
Adara, new high of day. How many times are we going to do this? On RUM, 37% now. We just broke through $6.70. The high of day is $6.73. I've got a beak wetter at 77s. We're at 75s. Can we get 77? We're going to do our little auctioneer voice here. We're definitely having issues breaking through the $0.75 area. That is now the high of the day. We're sitting at 77s because that's where we got in. So there's really no specific reason, technical reason why I got in, why I have my beak wetter at 77s rather than say 75s. But we're just going to leave it around there. Again, I don't want to belabor the same point over and over, but I am looking for a 692 7 touch. That was the pre-market high from 4 a.m. Let's see if we can get that. There is some size starting to show up on the book here at 675, not nearly as big as the size that was showing up at the $0.50. At that 650 level, there was way more size than there is at 675 over here, but we never really know what's behind the scenes. Okay, we're at 675 again. Do we get eaten through? There it goes again, 677 now, Adara, the new high of day. Rumble continues to pump to the high side, guys. Almost 40% to the good now. What a move for Rumble. Shout out to Canada, baby. And now we even have more size here than there was at 75s. We got at 80s. So now we're looking at size in the face literally at every 10 pennies or so. Rumble, the gift that keeps on giving on the day.
Oh, you're $1 up in that exactly now.
Yeah, oh,
congratulations.
That's nice. Yeah.
What a trade. Like this one just keeps moving. It
keeps
cannot
rumbling
be
on.
See, I didn't want to say it that time.
I thought that was right down your alley.
See, but I was like, I think, you know, sometimes you have to switch it up by not doing a pun, right? To kind of keep it fresh. But yeah,
look at that rejection. Look at, I love the volatility on these stocks, guys. We get that beak wetter, and then right there, 30 pennies, just dropped 30 pennies in the span that it took you, you know. You moved up 10 pennies in that amount of time, and you dropped 30 pennies in equal amount of time. So not really surprising, obviously. We'll have to wait and see whether a buyer step in here at the $0.50. Looks like they are for now. And right back we go into the mid-60s. We'll just we'll let this one do its thing here. Yes, Luke Schoon, Portnoy dumping his shares. That's funny. I have no idea whether he got anything in this one, but we'll have to wait and see. All right, let's go back into the lesson. We only have a couple of more to go over here. Let me bring back in the, 1 second here, let me load up. So we did the evening star. Now we're gonna do the 3 black crows, okay? And the 3 black crows are as follows. Did we do this? Yeah, we did. Okay, 3 black crows. Comprises of 3 consecutive long red candles with a short or non-existent wick. So what you're looking for is to open up near the high and to close near the low. Okay, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for very small or non-existent wicks, and you get them on these 3 candles here. Each session opens at a similar price to the previous day. So this is where the close is. right, from day one, and then look where you open on day two, right at that level. Likewise, similarly, on day two, you open up over here, you close over here on day two, and you open up here on day three. So what you're looking for is each session to open at a similar price to the previous day's close, but selling pressure pushes the price lower and lower with each successive close, and that's what we're seeing it here. Traders interpret this pattern as the start of a bearish downtrend, and sellers have overtaken the buyers during 3 successive trading days. And like all candlestick patterns that we're talking about today, these 3 black crows need to be preceded by an uptrend in price. Okay, so it's very similar to the reversal chart patterns that we talk about, because it's always seems to be reversing the bullish price trend that we had preceding it. So that is what we call the 3 black crows. Anything to add or any questions?
Yeah, no, like I said too, I mentioned this earlier, but I think what's cool about this specific example, and like I said, these patterns can manifest in any way. I like that there's a green candle of relief before the selling continues, right? Because that, you know, it just keeps something to keep an eye on, like with the boom, boom, boom. And then it's just like, you know, get ready. There could be more selling on the horizon. We can have a little like bit of reprieve. That one candle, even that one candle shows that we do have buyers getting overwhelmed by sellers.
Yes.
So again, I'm probably making such a mountain out of a molehill of this little example here, but I think it's a cool diagram of how nothing's going to manifest in the same way.
No, I agree 100% with you, because this candle over here, this is what Adara is talking about. She's talking about this one. And look how we popped up, but we're engulfed by the previous day, and then we ended up popping up a little bit, but then the seller said, no, you don't. And they pushed you right back in to lows. So I completely agree with you there. Even though this is obviously a picture, the idea is well taken there. So that is the 3 black crows pattern. And then last but not least, Adara, we're going to be talking about dark cloud cover. Right? Sounds so ominous, right? Dark cloud cover. All right, what is this one all about? The dark cloud cover candlestick pattern indicates a bearish reversal. Surprise, surprise. A black cloud over the previous day's optimism. That's what it is. It comprises 2 candlesticks. So we're looking at here at 2 candlesticks to analyze this. A red candlestick, which opens above the previous green body and closes below its midpoint. So very similar, like the piercing line that we talked about yesterday. This is the exact opposite. So you have preceding price trend is up, and then the candle specifically that we're looking at is this one. And what you want to look for here is an open above the previous close. So this is where we closed out on day 1. This is where we opened up on day 2. However, look where the close is on day 2. It is below the midpoint of day 1's price action. So that's what we're looking for there. Okay? This particular pattern signals that bears have taken over the session or taken over the particular price trend at the time if you're looking intraday, pushing the price sharply lower. If the wicks of the candle are short, it suggests that the downtrend was extremely decisive. So what that means is, if you're closing near the lows and you have short lower and upper wicks, that's even more bearish for this particular, if it happens on the red candle, not the green candle. So what we're looking at here is, if the wicks of the candle are short, it will suggest that the downtrend is extremely decisive, and we're looking for an even worse day 3, which would be evidenced in this candle. So that's what we're looking for. Those are the candlestick patterns that we are talking about today. Now we can talk a little bit more trading, Adara.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there's some people to get to in the chat here. Big Kyle Burdett, 2-year note auction at 1 p.m. That's about 15 minutes. 10-year yield is up 1%, dollar at 0.41. I'm looking at the 10-year. My futures on the 10-year, I have 1.44% in the green on the 10-year. The 2-year is up 1%, and the 30-year is up 1.71. So yields definitely moving in the up direction, and then as a result, you've got the ES, the NQ, the Dow, and the Russell all in negative territory at the moment. The NQ faring the best, flat, essentially 0.03% in the red on the NQ. Eric Luneville, I did 50 cents, 10 by 5 with rum, and I don't know what is it. It's just go to rumble.com, my friend. It's like YouTube. It's a video sharing platform where you can upload videos and do live broadcasts and stuff like that. Very similar to YouTube. The only reason it gained in popularity, at least I think personally, my opinion was because there was a lot of censorship, essentially, at one point or another, and this one kind of presented itself as the alternative.
Yeah, that's a good point.
The Piper stopped out for a loss on rum yet again. No profits on that. I need lessons. No, you don't. You just need a better entry point. And we'll talk more about that. We're going to be talking about Rumble, I think, probably going on in the afternoon here. So we'll be getting into some of that shortly. T-Money, bro, check IRBT. Hold rating of 40 to 50, price target and awaiting Amazon collaboration, possibly. Let's look at what IRBT. Okay, let's bring in some of the side charts over here, and we'll have a look at IRBT. And we'll give you some of the deets on it as well.
Nice today.
Yeah, we'll take off CC and we'll put in iRobot. Okay, so this is not iRobot. This is the that vacuum thing, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Is it iRobot?
Hold on. iRobot Corporate Global Consumer designs, sells, supports durable robots through integration of software. Is this the one that has the
Amazon?
The Roomba. It is the Roomba maker. It is. Yeah. Okay. So this is the one that got blocked the other day. And here it is. Here's the headline from yesterday, Adara. Roomba maker iRobot struggles with potential EU rejection of Amazon acquisition and falling sales, analysts said. Yeah, this was one of those ones we looked at yesterday for having the deal blocked. Today, I don't see any new headline on it, yet it's up 12%. Okay, so that's really interesting. Here is IRBT. It's a good look. I'm going to tell you the truth here. Let's put in the ticker. So 968 the high. Looks like we closed out yesterday at 1740. So what is the reason this is running up? I mean, I don't see any reason why this should be running up. Ever since we got the not rejection, but we know that there's going to be intervention by the European regulator. I don't know why this is running up. Yeah, and this is the move down, guys. When we got the European news, that was on the 18th. So that was a Thursday. Friday did bupkis. It was quite sideways on Friday. Monday didn't do anything either. Like, it was quite sideways, and now we're popping up. So there's got to be something new. What did T-Money say? He's like, RBT hold rating, 40 to 50 price target, awaiting Amazon collaboration possibly. Yeah, so nothing new from him on that one. Neil says it's the short float on that is 10%, which could explain why we're up almost $3 off the low. 690 low, 968 high on IRBT. It's great. It's a good look. I'm going to keep it on the side chart here. I just don't know why it's running. With respect to the actual float, 27.4 million share float. 10% of that is shorted. So possibly one of the reasons it's running up here. Quickly, before I send it back to Adara, Rumble, we got the beak wetter there at 677, but now we are tanking off that top beak wetter there, and we are going into the 630s. Let's watch for a 6 hold. Last time around, 6 held. Well, actually, let me rephrase that. Look at where we crested out over here at 6 1/3. So ideally, I'd like to see us hold this crest, but if 6 1/3 doesn't hold, let's keep an eye out for 6.
Yeah, no, I think, yeah, certainly always lots to look at and talk about with Rumble. I do want to briefly touch on Amazon because I saw someone mention Amazon in the chat here. I believe maybe, oh yeah, there we go. Greg Usler saying Amazon, baby. Yeah, I mean, Amazon certainly coming to an area of interest. And I mean, look at this bounce, this double bottom off this 154.15. Holy cow, holy cannoli. Insert whatever word you want to use here. Like, look at that bounce. And now we're getting to another area of interest because we had that consolidation area, this 154.56. If we bounce off that, I might take this short to that 154.15. I don't know if we're going to bounce, though. Amazon certainly has levels. I did draw that level earlier, that 155.20. That was my target for this range scalp that clearly did not work. The second we made that newer low, that recent low anyway, that 154.75, I had to make my exunt from this trade. Depending on what we do with that 154.56, I'd be tempted to go either long or short. If I go long, taking some profit 154.90 because that seems to be a quagmire for Amazon, that little zone. If not, I'm taking it short 154.15. My levels, the chart's telling me my levels. There we go. Also,
did you say quagmire?
I did say quagmire. Quagmire, I don't know.
You can't just drop quagmire and not going to hit the word.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I like that word. I really enjoy that word.
Yeah. Isn't he a character as well on Family Guy? Quagmire?
I think so too.
Isn't he?
It's Quag.
dude
It's
with the
Quag
chick?
something.
The
There
dude
is a
with, like-
Quag something.
Yeah.
It might be
Do you guys
Quagmire.
know any of the characters from Family Guy? Quagmire. The
It
Kakina
is
Man
Quagmire,
confirmed
okay.
it. Yes, yes.
There
the
we go.
Kakina Man confirmed it. Oh, the Neil wrote it. Yeah.
We were all thinking, not the actual work.
Also, yeah,
know.
speaking of Neil, Neil was saying in the chat while you were talking, I just remember this now. That's a picture? Crap, I just went short that stock when you were showing your little, when you were showing the diagrams with like the photo, where it was clearly a diagram and not a stock,
Oh,
right?
yes,
Right,
yes,
And
yeah.
then Neil goes, I really enjoyed
Yeah,
that.
Neil, like, he's dropping hot lines in the chat, but unless I'm looking at the chat at all times, sometimes
Yeah.
I miss Neil's hot lines, right?
Like
But,
I'll
you
just
know,
like go look up and I'll be like, oh, Neil said something hilarious, and I try to acknowledge it when I can, but also that one was like too good. I was like, this deserves to be
hilarious. I
said
love it.
out loud.
Giggity.
Thank you to Neil. John, yes, we do have a bond auction at 1. I believe it was the 30-minute.
Okay, we didn't do any housekeeping today.
Yeah, we'll be cleaning house with the Roomba. Shout out to iRobot. Pretty soon there.
Ram didn't like that. It's
What?
Like, oh my God. Yeah, it's funny, Ram. Hold on. Let's go and find out what we got here, Daryl. We got
Okay.
the 2-year, like Kyle was saying, at 1 o'clock. We'll see what that we got. Nothing else. We have API weekly crude that's at 4:30. Nothing else here. We had obviously the Richmond Services Index and the Manufacturing Index, which you brought to us at 10 o'clock. We had the 52-week bill auction at 11:30, and we have the 2-year auction today. I was pointed out by somebody in the chat last time that I was doing the incorrect analysis for the bond auction. I was comparing the current yield, the yield for the current auction to the previous print. Apparently, I'm supposed to be comparing it to the current 2-year. So the current 2-year right now, Adira, is sitting at 4.368. That's the futures, a January 31st contract. Last time around, we got 4.314, so awfully close. So we'll see what we get here and whether it's market moving. Investing.com gives it 2 bulls out of 3.
Okay.
So we know the 2-year is one of the yield that got inverted with the 10 and the 30. So I think it is closely watched. Come on, Sharif. You can do it today.
You got this.
Yes, on the day. The other one I want to mention is NVVE. This one, small cap gapper, starts pumping. It's up 80%, moving awfully close. New high of day on NVVE. It is absolutely flying. 5 2/3, taking that 545 previous high that we made at 955, leaving that in the dust. Higher lows, higher highs, NVVE here, continuing to run Adira.
Yeah, no, I tried to say that one on the small cap recap was a struggle. I was like, Nuv?
Yeah, I
Nuv?
remember you doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, it took a couple takes there, but we got it. Also, I have to mention this in the chat. Uber Drew in the chat, exit followed by bearish. Shakespeare reference out here.
I like
and
it.
very apt for trading. If you exit along followed by bearish. So I really appreciate that reference.
Yes, ma'am.
Also, I want to pull up save for Zach Frack. Sorry, we couldn't get to this one earlier. Yeah, so this is a flat bottom break, but also what I think is interesting is it's kind of more of a flat bottom bend because we do have this sort of flattish bottom here, actually right coinciding with VWAP. Having this magnetism towards levels, as
Yes.
Obi said. Confluence also, as Obi says, with this flat bottom being right here at VWAP at this 880 area. I think this also, imagine, we were talking about Save breaking 8 yesterday. Now we're like, this one's been crazy. But yeah, so I like these lower highs. Then we had this nice move to the downside. Anyone who shorted Save, congratulations to you. The reason I called it a flat bottom bend and not a flat bottom break, though, is because before we had the decisive break, we did have a dip down to that 870, and then we had another lower high. So whatever you want to call it, really nice move to the downside here for this one. I would say, just like from my reading here, watching out for profit takers or profit targets, I'd like to see what we do with that 810 area, because that was where we had all that consolidation earlier. But I did want to pull up, this one here, Spirit. Very interesting look and quite a spirited move to the downside after that flat bottom break / bend. I also want to pull up, I was in 2 trades briefly, and both of them, I'm going to say I want to learn something from. I'll put it that way. Apple, so this ended up being a long, but I had to get
See
out.
what just happened here on Apple?
A spike
We're
to the
pumping on the
upside.
future and we're pumping on the Mag 7.
Ooh, okay, so
Something
that's
just
what's happening.
Go ahead, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically I got out because we made it a lower low, and I said au revoir, and we held that 194.60 for a while. This was a 7-penny loser. I had this stop set really tight just because I get sometimes scared in these Meg 7 names. So 7-cent paper cent loser because I'm still learning in the sim here. But yeah, really nice move. I just think I probably bought the dip a little bit too early. But yeah, I got out because as you can see here, we did make a bit of a lower low below that 194.60. So I had to make my exit there. Also, I want to talk about this meta trade because this was, you know how you always say pack your patience. I appreciate you saying that. I left my patience at home or in baggage check or something because I like this move to the upside. I saw we're seeing these higher lows. I had my plans for profit takers. I was like, oh, 385.80. I like that kind of chop and shred around there. Coincides with VWAP. It'll be beautiful. And I'll take the rest out at 386.20. My issue is this one just did not move quickly enough for me. And that was a huge, I have to admit, I'm very upset at myself for this. Because, you know, it was just an issue of, it wasn't even like emotional trading because I did stay in because we stayed above, I said like, you know, I didn't want that 385 break and I specifically did not want a candle close above that 385.20. So if I saw either of those, I was going to get out, right? But we didn't have that. I basically just got kind of stressed out being in the trade because we kept topping and turning. And I got out for like a 10-cent winner. So it was a winning trade, but there's nothing to feel great about here when we have that great move up to 387. And the only reason I got out was because I was impatient. And this would have been.
I wouldn't be so hard on yourself like that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, like, but I see what you're saying. Obviously, you want to perfect the trade, and
yeah,
I
that's
respect
I think
that.
what my issue is. Yeah, I'm a little bit hard on myself. Yeah, I appreciate. Yeah, thank you for that. But yeah, I think basically like what I can learn from this is just be patient.
Yes.
There was no reason for me to leave the trade because it didn't break below my area. So you know, I think I appreciate you saying that. Though I will try to be a little kinder going forward.
Guys, we are halted here on the rocket ship, otherwise known as NVVE. It is up 114%. I'm looking at the top. It just went from $7 to $6.39. So the theoretical auction price awfully, you know, volatile like the stock at the moment. Now we've kind of slowed down. We're at 650 now for the top. 638 is the halt price. Let's see what time this one actually halted. So the time was 12:53:22. So that means we resume at 58:22. We are at 56:45 as I read this. So we still have about a minute and a half or so on NVVE before it opens up. Tap now 6:59. Again, be careful with this one. Let me give you the details on the float as well as everything else for NVVE. 36.2 million share float, so not small, but not huge either. NVVE, I'm looking at the short float now using trade ideas. 6.5% of the float is short. By the way, I got to tell you, the float on NVVE on trade ideas is 1 million shares. On my IBKR, it's giving me 36. Neil, do you have anything different on NVVE? You have trade ideas? It's trade ideas, yeah. And we don't have, flowchecker.com got closed down for whatever reason. So, yeah, I have got conflicting data here, guys, on NVVE. The tap right now, up candle, is 659 on IB. So we still have 659 tap. It hasn't changed. So keeping an eye on that one. The other eye I wanted to tell you guys about, Apple is skyrocketing here. So is Amazon. So is Meta. So is Softy. Not really on NVIDIA and kind of on Tesla. Google, a little bit. Google's a dead one today. Okay, Google is like asleep at the moment right now. While things are moving $1, Google decided to move like 15 or 20 pennies.
2.25.
The Katina Man is now $2.25 in the money on AFRM. So anybody following Sean's trade from this morning on a firm, $2.25 in the money, and he's letting that run. I asked him earlier, but he's going to let that bad boy run. So keep your eye on that. I'll keep updating you guys. And if you guys want me, to update you on any of his positions before we launch the new channel, just tag me and ask me, or tag Adara, and we don't have a problem asking Sean for you, by the way.
Yeah, no, we like the Sean sticky note intermissions where Sean will pass the fateful sticky note, and we will read the sticky note.
Adara NVVE. Okay, thanks, Ram. NVVE just popped up into $6.76. Now we are about $6.50 or so. But we have a little bit of comic relief right now, okay? Now, Elon Musk is a popular figure, guys, right? We know Elon Musk is a popular figure. But there is people that want to mimic him, and this guy I ran into on my favorite social media account, TikTok, Ram hit it. Where's the audio, Ram? Okay.
This is like how you were telling us about yesterday, right?
His name is Yi Long Ma, right? Hold on. We're going to get it in a second. A little anticlimactic there because we want to show it to you from the beginning. But this is not anticlimactic, Adara. $7.27 now on NVVE, just blew through $7. And just as quickly as it went to $7, it is now sub 7 at 6 1/4, 6.5 now. A lot of volatility on this name. Be careful with it. It didn't halt on that pop. Let's look now for a 6.5, 640 hold, because that was a halt level at 638. Let's see if that halt level actually provides some support, because we dipped down ever so briefly into 640-ish area, and we did get some renewed buying. So let's see if we can break and hold above 7. NVVE continuing to pump to the high side. The other one that we were talking about, RVSN, is making lower highs, possibly for, I don't know, 750 flat bottom break here. I'm not taking anything short on this, but this one is continually making lower highs, having trouble holding 8. Now it's below 8, and definitely couldn't hold 9 initially. Popped through 9, then huadoomed right back down. Manuel, Palma, AMD going for the high a day. I'm looking at that. We are now 50 pennies away from that 170 area on AMD. A lot of the Mag 7, like big tech names, started pumping here. And yeah, let's see what we get with that. There.
NVIDIA, I just said in the chat she is sprinting, because NVIDIA is in fact sprinting. Look at this 1 5-minute candle to the upside. I was trying to get involved in this at 595, set my point of interest a little bit too low. I look away, I come back, I see this candle on my side chart, and I said, is this a fluke? It was not a fluke. NVIDIA is a really nice look here to the upside. We're going to have to see what we can do here, because every time we get to this 597 area, we keep getting pushed back down by sellers, right? So we're going to have to wait and see. We were just talking about candlesticks this whole week, and let me tell you, I don't know what this green candle is called, but it seems to be, it's bullish. All I'll tell you is this: we have this like chop and churn, and then this one big bullish candle. All I'll say is it looks mighty fine, but we'll have to see if NVIDIA can sustain that.
Fair.
Because look, all these other moves up, those pushes up in past 596 have been pretty big green candles, and then these swoops to the upside. We even had, this was also, I would argue, sort of kind of a bit of that evening star-ish action here on this one, or shooting star, because we did have that, so, bit of movement upwards, red candle, upward tail, and then we swoop back down. So I think NVIDIA and candle analysis are maybe not going to be besties, but I'm always trying to bring things full circle here.
Fair,
and I think that this candle was striking. It literally had me like gasping at my computer on my side chart when I saw it and pulling up instantly. Synth Pop Boy putting it so succinctly here. That's the up candle, smiley face. There you go.
I like it.
You
All
called
right.
it.
Ram's got our friend Yi Long Ma. Come on, Ram. Put it up.
Luma, Tesla, Cybertruck, very cool, very cool. I love you. I love you, Cybertruck.
Putting away, super
That is
cringe
you
there,
with the
but,
Cybertruck. I love you, Cybertruck.
He looks a lot like Elon Musk. He's like the Asian Elon Musk.
Does look like Elon Musk.
Yeah, and I don't think he speaks English. That's the thing. That's why.
But like the intensity in his eyes is like Elon Musk's. They have a similar intensity.
Yeah, the chat I thought might like that. All right, some comic relief there. We're just teasing around. But all right, Adara, we did get that huge retracement, sadly, on NVVE here for anybody who was long this bad boy. 727 high. We are coming down. We're coming down aggressively now through $6. 5.5 incoming here as I'm seeing some high 550 prints. Do we hold the $0.50 area? We'll have to wait and see. We do have a level of support that I want to talk about on NVV right where we are right now. So this is the not the pre-market high, the earlier high at this 550, 5 1/4 level. We're right back there now. Does former resistance act as a level of support here? We're going to have to wait and see, but what an aggressive move down off 727. Now sub 550 on NVVE here, Adair.
Yeah, I mean, what else is there to say except for everything is running? It's hard to find points of entry when everything is kind of at or near like highs of day, right? Like I said, one of my biggest things is I don't really like getting involved in anything at or near high of day, and that's kind of why I prefer to range trade. Also, I happen to be, trading during the midday when that is kind of what's occurring anyway, right? So that's certainly something to note. But I think Microsoft kind of interesting here. We're kind of pushing past that consolidation area. I'd like to see what we do if we can get to that 397.75 and decisively push above there. That could be interesting, but I don't think I'd get involved at this level. A, because it's really right where we had that premier consolidation, that drop right before open. And B, just because this is going to be like a 50-cent winner. And I mean, I scalp anyway, right? But I just, especially with it being a little bit riskier and with that big move up, I want to be a little bit more cautious. But NVIDIA seems to be doing the same thing. And what it seems to keep doing is not wanting to decisively take 597. We have even that beautiful green candle, which as Synth Pop Boy put so succinctly, an up candle. NVIDIA was like, but like NVIDIA is like the meh emoji, the shrug emoji of the market. We keep like having this consolidation, then we get to that 596.50, we get above 596, it looks great, and then NVIDIA like slumps back down. So I think if I was kind of keeping my eye on this more decisively, and I probably should be, I'd probably try to short in and out of this here and get this short to that 590, just shy of 595. Once we get a nice bottom there, go back long, and depending on what we do at 595, I actually might go long here. But especially with that big NVIDIA, that green candle to the upside, I'm kind of tempted to not short just yet. Because NVIDIA can now decisively take 596, it just can't really hold 596, which I think is interesting. And look how many times we've had this 596 come into fruition here. Bounce, bounce, come back down, and then we consolidate around it once, get up, go back down again, right? So I think that this level, something that Neil said once that I really remember take to heart is if a level shows itself to you enough times, like, keep an eye on it. And I mean, with NVIDIA, it's a little bit different in that it's kind of going above this 596, but it's having a really hard time decisively holding 596. Kind of the same story we had with NVIDIA 600 yesterday. I will stop waxing poetic about NVIDIA, but the moral of the story is I kind of want to keep my eye on it because I think NVIDIA around this 596 is really interesting. I think this rounded bottom, and as Sharif pointed out earlier, these higher lows are certainly a good look here as well. Like we'll have little wicks below, but the actual closing candles, higher lows. So I think a really nice look here on NVDA. And Meta also coming back down from that 387. I like 387 Meta. I went long 387 Meta and took a couple pops off of that. But look, it looks like we could be doing, I don't want to say double top because this wasn't the top of Meta, but I think we could have that rejection off that 387. And I might, Meta doesn't look too meh right here. I've been, although I will say my exit out of this third long of Meta was meh, as I said, did not pack my patience. But I appreciate what you're saying there. Don't get too down on yourself. Yeah. Try to learn from every trade. And what I'm going to learn is if I like the setup, don't leave if the trade hasn't, if the trade's still valid. Absolutely. So there we go. I'm gonna try to learn from that. There we go.
So the result of the 2-year auction, Adara, 4.365. Was the result of the yield there on the 2-year note auction. And as I look at the current yield on the 2-year, it's 4.368. So the yield here was 4.365, and the current price or the current interest rate on the 2-year Treasury note is 4.368. So a little bit lower than, well, marginally lower. I'm talking fractionally lower here than the current look. So I'm not really sure what to make of that. Not a bond trader or anything like, but we're moving up nicely here. Looks, the end, I don't want to say moving up nicely. We're up 0.1%, 0.13% on the NQ. So we're also back at this key level on NVDA. This 596.5, we've rejected there last time around. That's where we crested out, and now we're right back at that level and dropping again. So we'll have to wait and see if NVIDIA can get out of this prolonged sideways move. Look how long the sideways move is. I mean, you had opportunities. It gave you dollars at a time, but with respect to a $600 name, dollars it's great, but relatively speaking to the price of the stock, it is not all that much. Now, NVIDIA coming down a little bit here. It looks like rejecting again off that 596, pardon me, and a half. And look at that, right down into 595 and a half again on NVIDIA. So we'll keep our eye on that. Rumble continues to be a little consolidative at that 6.5 level ever since we got that 677 pop. Not getting out of this one because it really hasn't given me a reason to get out. We were talking about $6 being the line in the sand. It hasn't come down to $6. Worst it did was around over here at 6.25. We'll pack our patience with that one. RVSN continuing to trend down. So that flat bottom break materialized at 7.5, 7 2/3. And now we are headed down on RVSN, possibly into that 6.5, awfully close. We're at 6 2/3 right now. But the lower high, lower high, lower high with a bit of a flat bottom at 7.5, 7 2/3 did end up giving whoever took it a good trade. This is the other one, NVVE. And the reason I zoomed out, I wanted to show you guys this, is because I was looking for support to come in here, right at that 540, 550 level. And the reason was because that's where we popped up initially at around 10 o'clock or so, and that was the previous high. So I was looking for previous high to act as a level of support. Initially it did, and then you got a couple of green candles back up into the 5 3/4, but there you go. We've given up that ghost, and now we're back down into 5 high teens. So NVVE giving back a lot of that move as we broke through 7 there. The other one that I want to look at was AAPL, and the reason was because we were in front of that whole dollar, and there we are. We're at 195 exactly right now on Apple. We've broken through 195. It's not like a line in the sand on the day because we got to 195.75. That was initial though. That was the IB high on the opening print. But we haven't been up there, and we haven't been able to sustain a move above 195 on the day. The pops through 195 have all been sold off, and doesn't look like, you know, I don't want to say that it's not going to be different this time around, but right now we're doing the dance at 195. So not much for me to talk about right now. If you guys are looking at anything interesting, I'd like tag me in the chat, and I would be more than willing to look at it for you. Let's see. Anything here being chatted about? No, not that I can see. So if you guys want me to look at anything for you, I would have no problem. IRBT says LM. We looked at iRobot earlier on, and we're still not really sure. At least I'm not really sure why this one's popping. It sold off obviously over here on the 18th because the European regulator kind of made their intentions known that they were looking to block it, and that you had a big move down. Then we were kind of sideways for a couple of days. Maybe this is a bit of a reprieve, some renewed buying into this by an institutional buyer. I don't have anything on my blotter to explain the move. Everything is from yesterday, nothing from today. So it's a good look though. I mean, let's look at it from a technical perspective. Where would I get in on this? Well, I wouldn't get in here. I can tell you that. I'd be looking for a possible VWAP bounce. And I like the fact that VWAP is where the high end of this consolidation is on IRBT, that 18.25. Okay, VWAP right now is at 18.33, a little bit below 18.33. So if this was to make it down off that 19 and come down into 18.33, 18.25, I would be interested. But at this particular area, I'm not going to chase IRBT, especially lacking an understanding of why it's running. I don't see a catalyst on the day. Top VOIP, MAXN, small one, making a round bottom. Sure, let's have a look at MAXN. We'll substitute DWAC because it hasn't been doing anything. MAXN. Maxion Solar Technology. So what is this one? Let's get the deets. Pop it up, open over here. Kind of a flat day, top VOIP. I mean, we're up 3.77%. The company's float is a cool 32 million shares, $260 million market cap. So, you know, needless to say, it is a small one. Put the ticker over here for you. Look, this is not the type of stock that I'm going to trade. 484 low, 519 high. Yeah, this isn't my cup of tea. I'm going to have to pass on this one. Sorry about that. Paul Williams says, Sharif, ARQT rising, got FDA approval for dermatitis cream in December and just announced immediate launch of product. Interesting. Okay, let's have a look at ARQT. Arcutis, okay, so this is a bit more down my alley. Let me find out ARQT. So this one up 14 2/3%, $383 million market cap. Float is 92.3 million shares, so just sub 100 million, not a bad look. Let's look at the daily. First of all, let's put in the ticker so you guys can follow along. ARQT. Oh, geez, Louise. ARQT. And we're going to start the lesson real soon here, guys. Just want to get through some of these tags here over here. So obviously a downtrend on the daily, and that's not surprising because solar stocks have been demolished as of late, likely because of higher interest rates and higher startup costs, but that's neither here nor there. As of, let's just say, December, it started making higher lows and higher highs. This is the look in December, based out there at around $1.75, $1.75, $1.80. Yeah, more around that $2 area where the closing prints were. Then higher lows, higher highs. Today, CSIQ got a nod from BlackRock, I believe, to the tune of about $500 million. So this could be moving in sympathy with some other solar names. CSIQ is Canadian Solar, in case you're wondering what I'm talking about. With respect to an intraday look, it's not giving you crazy amounts of volume for a $4 name. It's only done about 4.25 million shares at 115, so that's not that much. But it is holding the 20 period here. The 20 period is the yellow line on my chart. So any dips possibly into the 20 period, maybe into 4 now that we've cleared 4 at 408, maybe look to defend that $4 area. It's not a stock that I would personally choose at the moment. But if I was to suggest anywhere to get in, maybe get in off a whole dollar level off the 20 period here, moving average. I hope that helps. Adair.
Yeah, I mean, what a market, what a day. We will be getting back to the lesson, but quickly, just want to talk about it. Sometimes patterns are not always going to come to fruition. And with that in mind, my failed Amazon short. So a couple issues I want to say. For one, I really, there's a fat finger moment here. So I had this order at 155.15, thought I canceled it, got filled at 155.10. And honestly, I really, look at all these rejections. I've been talking about this all day. All these rejections off of that. Thank you for the definition of fat finger there. I appreciate it. There we go. There we go. Very much did that. Textbook definition here. Oh, right, I like this constant failure off that 155.20, right? Like 1, 2, 3, 4. I was like, we got this, right? I was going to take a little bit of profit out this 154.90. And the rest probably run that consolidation area, 154.50. But basically, and also when you look at this kind of we'll get into the candles in 2 seconds, so we'll know the exact name. But we did have kind of what looked to me like this that evening star one, right? That one, because we had that moving to the upside, and then we had look at this wick to the upside, and it's a red candle on the day. So I was like, looks like we could have a bit of a bearish trend. And it came at that 155.20 level, right? So I thought it was set for a short. Alas, it was not. Amazon expedited delivered along while I was in the trade, right? So I think it's really, I guess, important to note that, and also look at the candle pattern we had too with this wick to the upside. We had that pretty much all the other times we rejected as well.
I don't think that's a bad trade.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
You had levels off which to work. Yep. You had a quadruple top there. What is that, the 3-minute?
That's the 5-minute.
That 5. Okay, so you had a quadruple top on the 5. So I don't think that's a bad trade. I think you just got caught at a bad time when the market was popping. Yeah. But the fact that you had that level off which to work and you got in, you were disciplined enough to wait for that level. I mean, it's all good. It's going to happen.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But yeah, no, I just wanted to go over that. And congrats to anyone who is long Amazon. This beautiful move off that double bottom. Glorious.
Dara, DWAC's pumping.
Oh, DWAC's pumping.
Yeah,
okay.
You want to look at that?
Yeah, I will look at DWAC. Oh my gosh, it is. Someone was mentioning this pennant on DWAC. It might have been low. I apologize. But whoever it was, you called it. We had that. I don't even know if pennant, but we sort of had this movement to the upside. Then this chop and churn here, actually dancing around VWAP, which is also of interest. And then that push off 47. I think what we do here around 50 will be interesting. A, it's the whole dollar level. B, lots of consolidation in the pre. So we'll have to see what we see here. Because yeah, this movement up from 47 is certainly of note. One more before I go to the lesson. I'm going to look at phase for Nimit here. I was talking about this one earlier. This one not phased by the fact that it is a penny stock and that sometimes these ones, they do move a little bit slower later in the day. But a lot of these small caps getting nice movement, and phase is one of them. We did have a story on this one with bit roll. I'm going to pull up the exact name. I believe that was the name of the company. And some sport-related headline here. Oh, Rollbit sponsoring its Counter-Strike team. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, FaZe Holding shares are trading higher after the company announced Rollbit will sponsor its Counter-Strike team. I don't know what any of that means, Adara, but that's the headline. And I just want to tell people to float on it real quick, 55.7 million shares.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. With these ones, it's always nice to know the float as well, especially with these penny stocks. Really nice look on FaZe. Really classic higher highs, higher lows, and then push up to the upside right off VWAP also, which is of note. So I just want to, video game related. Thank you, Bears versus Bulls.
Thank you.
Yeah, right now I think the Bears versus Bulls are kind of in a battle, but the Bulls just won there. So, I mean, kind of a nice look
segue
here. Yeah, what a market. But now we're going to actually talk about bearish candles. So segues over here. And I will just take a moment here to get my little visuals set up so we can look at these patterns instead of just imagining what they might look like, because that's the...
Rumble is pumping again, guys. So anybody in Rumble, it's going again. Go ahead, Adara.
Thank you. Yeah. I needed the moment to set up anyway, so that was perfect.
No problem.
So let's talk first about this hanging man pattern, okay? So this is what the hanging man looks like. And this is, like I said, one that kind of tripped me up when I first was learning about patterns, and same with its the opposite of it, which is the inverse hammer, and for the bullish candles, right, to the upside, is I really thought, hey, well, we have this movement, and we have, like, clearly, buyers are not deterred by sellers. Like, we have the selling, and then the candle closes not as low. So I was thinking always, like, or not as high, depending, right? I was thinking, oh, like, this has to be kind of a bullish sign. Well, it's actually not, right? Especially if we're coming at the end of a nice, or not at the end, but we're in the midst of a nice upward movement, and then we see this kind of selling off, especially if it's a red candle. It's a sign, hey, selling might be in the horizon. The sellers didn't necessarily win yet, but it shows their selling power here. That's what this signifies, and that was a big thing for me to learn, is when you see this, it doesn't necessarily mean the sellers have won yet, but it means that the sellers are there, they're ready. Just because they got bought up now does not mean they will get bought up next time around. So I think that's a really key point there. Yeah, basically a sign that the bulls are losing control of the market. Of course, too, like we were saying, someone yesterday made the really good point of how do you enter on these candlestick patterns? And I think sometimes, patience is a virtue, something I need to exercise a lot more in myself. But, in terms of just looking at candlesticks, right? You see this, you see this candle, maybe you wait for the next red candle, and then you're like, there we go, let's get involved.
Well, personally, if I could chime in a little bit, if I'm waiting for a specific candle to form, I'm going to have to wait until the close. Because not the closing of the day, but the closing of the candle. Because I don't know if the candle is going to look like that. It could change in a second, right?
Yeah.
So I'm waiting for that close.
I appreciate that, and that's one thing I'm trying to work on as well, like staying, like, because it's like, I think a lot of it will be like, oh, if we go below this level, I want to leave, but that doesn't mean we're going to close below that level.
Right.
So I use the 5 minutes. So it's like, if I'm that worried, like, it could just be a wick to the downside and then we shoot back up, right? So I think definitely patience is a huge thing with making sure you're waiting, and especially for points of entry. And I appreciate Obi always talking about, we have this many minutes till the candle closes, because he trades on the 15s. And I'm not necessarily like talking, I'm not trying to put candlestick patterns on his back, but I'm just saying, like, I know that one thing he does pay attention to is like knowing when the candle closes, and that's something I think really important, especially looking at these candlestick patterns, is something I'd like to implement a little bit more, especially because I'm trading on the 5. Like, I can wait 5 minutes.
Yes, ma'am.
You know what I mean? So I think that's a really key point here. Shooting star pattern. This is what I thought I saw in Amazon that I did not see. And we can do a live example of that in a moment. But basically, same idea as this is, I guess, closer to what the hammer candle is for the upside. So basically, you have this big push to the upside for the shooting star. And then you have another candle. And then we have all of this movement upwards, this wick to the upside, some buying, and then it just kind of sinks. And so this may be a sign like, hey, that upward momentum you saw earlier, not necessarily going to still be cutting it. And then again, if it's followed by a red candle, definitely a bearish sign. This one's going to have a small lower body and a long upper wick. And again, much like the inverse hammer, it is stronger if it's a red candle. As far as I'm saying, some of these, it doesn't even matter the color as much as it matters the context, but the color can make it more bearish in this case, or more bullish if we're talking the bullish candles. But basically, usually the market's going to gap slightly higher on opening and then rally to the intraday high before closing on the price just above the open, like a star falling to the ground. Shout out to IG for that beautiful wording. Swoop down.
Down.
Yeah, I can't say it right, but shout out to Sharif for that. And that candle is also definitely agreeing with that motive.
Yes, ma'am.
Bearish engulfing, another interesting one here. And like I said, I think this is one of the clearest ones for me, at least, to read, especially understanding candles, because you have this movement to the upside. Again, a lot of the, I apologize, I keep saying that, but that's how a lot of these bearish reversal patterns are going to start. We have movement to the upside, and then something happens.
Well, yeah.
And so in this, right? Yeah. And so in this case, we've got this bearish candle here, this red candle, and it's following this small green candle engulfed by this subsequent long red candle. And they've helpfully circled these for us here so we can see what they're doing. Basically, this shows that there's either a peak or a slowdown in bullish movement. And basically, from here, you want to watch out because the market could be heading to the downside. And like what I was saying here, too, maybe not even just using these for entries. I think they're also important to use for potentially, if you're in a trade, is the ground changing beneath us?
I'm sorry,
yeah,
Adara, but DWAC's flying. I'm 53.50 here. We're only up 7%, but look at that. I mean, it's a straight line up off 47. Now we're at 53.5. So again, I'm going to say this. You guys already know, but be careful with this name, guys. A spread. It's only 10 pennies right now, but I've seen it as wide as 50, and it's awfully volatile. So we want you guys to be here for a long time, not a short time, and don't blow up your account on a stock like this. Make sure you are managing risk. That's all I'm going to say. Go ahead.
Yeah, also I have to shout out to Hold My Beer here saying, oh my gosh, Joshua, DWAC having so much fun, PHUN. It's making a rumble in the markets.
I like it.
Calling out all the meme stocks in one fell swoop.
Right?
I really appreciate that here. I did have to shout that out. Thank you for that. And also, yeah, someone was mentioning a 1-minute shooting star on Netflix in the wild. So I'll look at that too, because we're trying to find these in the wild. But we will go back to the notes post haste. Netflix also on watch too with that WWE news of that partnership start with Raw starting in a year. Thank you, 2025. I appreciate that, Sean. My brain lost my head there for a second.
DWAC? Oh, a firm. I was like, what the hell? The Katina Man is $3. Ram's ears. Poor girl. The Katina Man is $3 in the money on a firm. So people following around with following the Katina Man's trade from this morning, he's still holding that bad boy. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. We always love the updates there. Yeah, and I think part of it too is this. I think this could be the 1-minute candle to which you're referring to on Netflix. We did have that run up. And then we had a bit of a shooting star, 1254, then headed to the downside. I'm going to see. Okay, never mind. I found it. I don't know how I missed it. I found it. Look at this 492.50, this 1-minute candle. Look at that big movement to the upside. We had that big push to the upside and then that shooting star movement to the downside. Thank you very much to whoever mentioned this shooting star 1 minute on Netflix. Tuong Ho saying that. I apologize if I pronounced your name incorrectly. Shouting out this Netflix in the wild move. So, you really called it there, and I think that's a really clear example. We had a really strong uptrend, and again, always things are going to be a little bit stronger if they're on like longer time frame charts, right? So the 1 minute not always going to be as strong, but in that case, it certainly was. We had that 1 minute shooting star, and then we fell to the downside with a swiftness. So I really appreciate that shout out. We do love finding these patterns with a swiftness. Accidental shout out to a person that Taylor Swift accidental shout out there, I guess, but yeah, we'll keep going here.
Did you see her at the? You didn't watch the playoff game.
No, but I guess her man won, didn't he?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I don't want to really talk about it because Neil's back, but it's all good.
But yeah, basically,
he's shaking his head. Neil, I big. Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna just. Yeah, go ahead, Darren. Are you gonna cheer for Lamar going forward? Who's your team now going forward? I know. You're not going to be cheering for anybody? Detroit. Yeah, I could agree with that. I can agree with that because they're just so.
Oh, shut up on camera.
Yeah, it's all good. You weren't mic'd up. You weren't mic'd up. You're good. You're good. Niners, baby, says Lolo. As a Dallas Cowboys fan, I can never cheer for the 49ers. So that's like Neil cheering for the Patriots. You're not going to do that. Right?
Is that Philadelphia 49ers? No.
San Francisco. It's okay.
I tried. Go Sports. Okay. Shout out to OB.
Go Sports.
Go Sports.
OB.
I can do CFL. I just can't do NFL, and that's fine. Also, so yeah, we did do that bearish engulfing, which, as I said, kind of one of the clearer ones to see. We do physically see this little tiny green candle being ambushed by the big bearish red candle, and we know we're going to head to the downside from there, or at least there's a chance that more downside move is on the horizon. Let's talk now about the evening star. So this is basically 3-star candlestick pattern, and it's the equivalent of the bullish morning star, but in this case, it's bearish, right? And so you've got this little tiny short candle, almost a doji, but you've got a little bit of a body here. And then on either side, you have one long green candle to the left, shout out to Beyonce, and then one big red candle to the right. And so basically, this one kind of will indicate that an uptrend is probably going to be reversed soon. It's also really strong if the third candlestick completely takes out the gains that we made in that first candlestick, right? So we've got that move to the upside, pretty stagnant in that second candle, and then that big bearish candle in the third session goes raw and like takes out all the movement we made up, clawing to the downside. And then again, like too, it's not necessarily going to be like the next move we make will be down, which is why I appreciate they do show us we have a little bit of a green candle over here as well. I do appreciate these little drawings showing that it's not going to be necessarily all smooth sailing to the downside from there. There could be a little bit of a reprieve, but the overall direction seems to be down. So I do appreciate that little drawing there. And yeah, I think these candles really clear. We do have big green candle, little teeny tiny candle, and then a big red candle swooping to the downside. Then we have the 3 black crows, which brings, we have one more candle. So the second last candle to talk about here, or pattern, 3 black crows. So this one, basically how it kind of sounds, you've got these, or I guess 3 red crows. You do have 3 consecutive longish red candles with short or non-existent wicks. Basically what that means is we're taking out the whole movement in each of these candles. Because with the wicks, it means like, oh, maybe there's a little bit of movement below, but this means like, we basically opened at high of day and closed at low of day. That's what's implied by the lack of wicks. I just want to contextualize that because that was something new for me. I think it took me kind of an embarrassingly long time to realize the significance of wicks in charts. And I do credit a lot of that with, Sharif, you telling me about how these wicks are really important. But basically what this means is if we have really short wicks, that means basically the whole movement was done in these red candles. So I think that's super significant. And I think, yeah, it's certainly something to keep an eye on here. And then that shows, hey, there could be more downside on the horizon. If we had these 3 really strong, really intense red candles, who says there can't be more? And so just something to keep an eye on. Definitely could be the sign of a start of a bearish downtrend with sellers certainly overtaking buyers quite aggressively during that period. And again, it'll be stronger if this is like 3 days worth of candles versus like 3 1-minute candles. And then last but not least, I'm going to try to do that in the Sharif voice here, the dark cloud cover. It's a little bit of an ominous pattern showing that bears are enveloping bulls here, making movement to the downside. It indicates a bearish reversal because we have a black cloud of sorts over the previous session's optimism or bullishness or session. When I say session, I mean whatever time frame we were at earlier. Exactly. I think that's certainly whatever time frame that is for you. Because as we said, to shout out to Sharif there, they're fractal. I love that word, and that is very true. So they're going to be stronger if you see them at different patterns. But as an example that someone in the chat gave us with that Netflix 1-minute shooting star, just because it's on a 1 minute doesn't make it any less significant sometimes, right? It's just more significant if you see it in a wider time frame, is I guess what I want to say there. But again, there's exceptions to every rule, just something we're talking about there. But basically, if you'll have 2 candlesticks. The red candlestick is going to basically, that's going to be the second candlestick, opening above the previous green body, and it's going to close below its midpoint. So much like the piercing line we talked about yesterday, cutting through bullishness, with this one we're going to have this green candle. We open up, then we gap up actually, which is interesting too. And I appreciate you pointing out. This really indicates a lot of indecision in the market. Yeah. So we open up. So we're ready to go for another day of bullishness, and then it just has like a Tesla-like drop or something. I just say Tesla. I'm not trying to pick on Tesla, but Tesla tends to do this sometimes. A little. Yeah. Yeah. And then we'll have this big move down, and it's going to take out at least half of this green candle. Much like the piercing line, it's going to open up more, do at least half of the action of the red candle from the previous day. This one's going to do at least half of the green candle from the previous day for this bearish move. And so I think that's certainly worth keeping an eye on there. And if the wicks are shorter, it actually suggests that there was even more decisive downtrend. Because why? Because it's similar to the 3 red crows or black crows we were talking about earlier. The less wicks there are, the more that action was contained within the candle. Yes. That would be more decisiveness. And then you want the confirmation, which is going to be this teeny tiny little short green candle here, just to show like, hey, we kind of have closed within this movement. Also, Lethargic asking a good question here.
Yes,
do you know the percentage of time that these chart patterns accurately predict movement? Like I was saying earlier, I don't think it's always necessarily prediction It's just kind of more like a sign of where things could be going.
Yeah. The one thing that we can say about that, Adara, is that the higher the time frame off which you work, the hourly, the 4, the daily, the weekly, the more likely that it's going to be accurate. The lower the time frame, the higher the failure rate. I don't know what's going on with my headset here, Ram, but this thing is losing it. You're obviously not sending me anything from your end there, but my headset's just going berserk over here, so I'm gonna have to restart that. So the higher the time frame, the more accurate. The lower the time frame, the less accurate. The higher the failure rate is there. Guys, we have to talk about the elephant in the room, which is DWAC $55 touch. I was about to say $5.55. Okay. This thing is distracting me. $55 touch. Here we go right back into 52, 51 and a half. Touch off there. DWAC awfully volatile. I'm not going to participate in this name, but there is a separate trade that you can take that is not as volatile. Or I shouldn't say as volatile, but you're not going to get as much notional movement. And it's PHUN fun. It is a sympathy play for plays like DWAC. Let's pull up PHUN over here and see if it's moving. I saw Neil in the chat say that he was priming for an entry on PHUN, and there you go. We were kind of basing out there at 41 and a half pennies. In fact, you got a lot of support at that 41 and a half pennies, and we just popped up into 46 and a half. We still haven't broken the high a day on DWAC. I mean, sorry, on FUN, which we made earlier in the opening print there at 9:30. 48 pennies. That's where FUNware and DWAC diverge a little bit. We are at high of day on DWAC. Not so, though, on FUNware. So DWAC pullback, says Neil, and we're watching DWAC pullback in real time here. Let's move this one and go into the actual trading screen itself. 51 and a half. Now we're back up dancing with 53, 6 2/3% to the good now on DWAC. Look, I mean, if as a trend following trader or momentum trader, this is where I would like to get in on a pullback on DWAC like this. I just don't know if DWAC's going to pull up at this level, and I don't want to find out. I'm not going to get into DWAC today. Yeah. You know, call me a prude or whatever, but it's just, this is like my trading style. I don't feel like I can manage risk effectively on a stock as volatile as this, so I'll just watch and comment on it for everybody else who's printing in the chat. Shout out to you guys. If you guys are making money on this, I couldn't be happier. There goes DWAC right back up again into 54 and a half. Could we break through that 55 and say a quarter? What is that? 55 1/5 is the high on the day. It was a quick. The closing prints all south of 55. Adara. Say that again? There was a 60 thou on the bid, Neil says. I'm not sure I saw what level it was at. It got filled, he says, so looks like we're ascending. That's one of the things that we've talked about, guys. Look at the bid. Look who's following you up. Who's there to back you up if the price was to come right back down. If you see a big bidder moving up with you, I'm not saying it's a hard and fast rule, but it is typically, some, solace of support there that, if the seller or a short seller was to push this bad boy back down, you'd have some support there. Look, you can see 52. There's a big buyer at 52, about 155 lots sitting there, but that's $2 removed from where we're trading right now. DWAC, the rocket ship, near high of days, looking to break 55. Here we go again. I just saw some prints in there in the high 80s. We're going to have to pack our patience if we want a 55 break here. But yeah, DWAC, I mean, multiple days. And we got the Trump man. He's on again today. New Hampshire primary, widely expected to win. And I think a lot of these ones are running in sympathy of that whole thing. The other trade here is Rumble, still up 36%. The high of day is 689. I actually had my beak wetter there at 689, but before it actually printed, but it didn't cross that level. So I'm waiting for 689 on Rumble to print. I've got, I'm guessing there's going to be likely resistance between 690 and $7. That's the pre-market high. From 4 a.m., I am expecting resistance there on RU1. But DWAC, there goes DWAC, 55.50. Adara, looks like we're going to get 56, and there goes 56 on DWAC. The rocket ship, other known as Digital World Acquisition Corporation, is flying.
Yeah, it's DWAC. It's like This one has been moving like crazy. Yeah, I mean, congrats to anybody in this trade, as we were saying. I also have to read out this beautiful quote from Mr. Mems in the chat. Gift horse kicking people in the face. Shout out to Obi. And I think, yeah, like this certainly seems to be what's happening if you're caught in some of these rapid moves. So I think very solid shout out there. Also, Manuel Palma, this is a little bit late. I'm a bit late to this, but I know Manuel Palma mentioning 1 minute shooting star on AMD, and I found it. And this is a really interesting look, because if you zoom out, this was actually basically at or near high of day. We had the double top, we made a higher high, and look, we did it with that shooting star on the 1 minute, then we fell to the downside. I think this is a really good look, and so I know, just to got one more reference to the lesson there. Thank you very much, Manuel Palma, for bringing that up, because that AMD shooting star looked like the textbook, and then we fell to the downside. So again, 1 minute, so sometimes going to be less potent, but certainly not in this case. We took about 20 pennies out of movement there with the swiftness, so I do want to shout that out. Lots of, again, everyone in DWAC here. Also
Unreal.
Meta took a mega
Neil was
fall.
telling me about
to the
Meta. Meta's
downside.
absolutely tanking. Something's going on with Meta there.
I'm
Keep
gonna
going.
look
I'm going to
into
look.
it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So basically with Meta, I want to see what we do. It looks like we might be able to get a bit of a reprieve here off that 383, because that was the area from whence we had that nice move up earlier. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. As you know, I was in and out of longs on this kind of all day. Right now, that does not really look like the opportunity unless I do see that nice little 383 bottom. I'm not getting involved in this right now.
Nothing.
Nah.
Looking.
There's nothing on Meta.
No, I'm looking. There's nothing.
We actually had two.
And it was secular. Like, look,
That's
can I
weird
show
too, yeah.
the Mag 7 charts? Like, look, Meta's top left corner, guys, okay? So this is Meta over here. Compare it to the other 7. Do you see a Huadunk with the same vigor that we got on Meta? That's why I was kind of hypothesizing that this is Meta specific. You got a bit of a downturn in Amazon, and Tesla's been down and to the right all day, but that's secular in and of its own right. Meta seems to have dumped here for a specific reason. I don't have anything on my blotter. Brenda is not at the big desk at the moment, so we're going to wait to find out what, if anything, happened here on Meta. But don't tell me you have a 388 high and now you're at 383 without the market tanking, without there being a specific catalyst, and you blew through that support here at 385 like it didn't even matter. 382 and 2/3 Adara, the low of day on Meta currently.
Yeah, no, thank you for bringing that one up. Meta has been, one to watch, and certainly, like I said, we'll have to see what kind of bottom we do get at that 383. But right now, I'm not getting involved until I see another move, at least another candle of confirmation, just to kind of go back to what we're talking about. It's nice sometimes to have this confirmation.
Man.
The candlesticks are not usually going to be your sole reason of entry, but they can be one of many little tools in your tool kit, or as you put it, arrows in your quiver.
There you go.
Whatever idiom or analogy you'd like to use, there can be lots of
Did you say idiom?
I did say idiom.
You're not going to just get away with dropping these words like that.
It can't seem like it's a threat. Like you're not going to get away with it.
It's so funny. One time my teacher called, like this was grade school, and it was obviously English class, grade 10. So you was not advanced, but you're up there, 10th grade. And the teacher called the student an idiom, and then like he literally got up, the student got up, walked to the office, reported the teacher for calling him an idiot, and the entire class knew that he meant idiom, right? He was like, yeah, that's an idiom, right? Oh. He didn't understand, the poor soul.
That's a great story.
Funny.
That's like something out of a sitcom, and that's something out of Young Sheldon. It sounds like. So I love that was
I'm
real
still
life.
watching that, by the way. I love it.
Yeah, I know, because I know you were watching, because I know you're a fan of Big Bang Theory. I was weirdly getting recommended Young Sheldon on my Netflix, so I'm like,
really
maybe
good.
I got to check that out.
I like it.
Thank you.
I think it's very fun.
Yeah, anywho, I will go. I'm just going to go back to the market here. Lots of mentions of
back.
Tesla. 1 John 1:9 being really succinct with it, just saying Stressla, ugh. And I mean, that's the motivation we feel.
Rumble, $6.90 Adara. This is the gift that keeps on giving. Sure, DWAC's giving gifts too. There goes Rumble into 95s. Let's sit at 95s here. Now, this is the resistance area we've been talking about, guys. This is the area we were talking about. We talked about a 692 high at 4 a.m. So say 692. $7. This is where I am expecting resistance on Rumble.
Rumble's at that high?
$7, Katina, man. $6.95 technically, but what's a couple of pennies here and there? Definitely some selling right now at 95. There goes 95. Do we see 7? I love my auctioneer time right now, especially when you're in the trade. Lots of strength on Rumble, 42%, and not the same type of crazy volatility that you're getting on DWAC. I don't mean to disparage DWAC, but it like makes my hands sweat
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a nutty stock, right? And with any like discernible large size, you can get absolutely wiped out on this name. 58 touch on DWAC coming down into 55, right? 55.50, pardon me, right now. Let's look at what happens at 55, guys, because that's where we crested out. So former area of resistance on DWAC 55, could it act as a level of support this time around? We know that this 51.5 area was a great area to get in. 52, 52.5, whatever, this general area here on the pullback, and then you got several more dollars to the high side. Let's see if 55 can act as a level of support at Dara.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think really congrats on Rumble. That's a really good look. And I think, too, we're talking about this. I don't remember if it was on camera or off camera, but I was saying Rumble, I think, moves a little bit more like the traditional small caps.
A little bit,
which is probably why this is kind of like more your cup of tea, right? Because you like the small caps.
Yeah.
It's not even as crazy as RVSN. Like, I think RVSN, which is much more traditional small cap, was moving way more herky-jerky than Rumble.
Yeah.
Rumble has been very much respecting normal market movement.
This is what Adara's talking about over here. I mean, like, look at these topping tail candles. You take a breakout at $8, right? You shoot up, and then all of a sudden you're right back down to 7.5. So these wicking candles, these candles of indecision on RVSN, even though, you know, it's not as much of a notional move as DWAC, if you're sizing into this accordingly, trying to take, you know, a $9 or an $8 stock, you could find yourself on the other end of some trouble as well. So I completely understand what you're saying about RVSN being a bit of a volatile name there. Yeah, PHUN, we were looking for a possible sympathy trade on that with DWAC. I don't know. You got the pop. I mean, like, it's not like you didn't get off 41.5, but you didn't get the same type of parabolic movement that you're getting on a DWAC like name. Again, keep in mind, guys, this morning at 4:15 a.m., DWAC touched $62. So the move, it may not be over here. It's fantastic. We're up 13 some odd % on the day, but there is more room to the high side if you are using that 4:15 a.m. top as a level. $62 was the high there. What was the exact high? Yeah, $62 on the dot was the high at 4:15 a.m. this morning, Adair.
Yeah, no, I think certainly lots of to sink your teeth into in this market. Rumble certainly one of them. Trader John saying rum, great drink, even better trade. And I mean, yeah, certainly Neil and Sharif both in that trade, certainly feeling the effects of rum, because Rumble has been a great look all day. Trying to get back into Meta. I don't know what it is about this name. I cannot leave it alone. I do like that nice bounce off that 383. Like I said, I was keeping an eye on that. I was trying to get filled around that 383.50. Looks like that's really not going to come to fruition, but unless there's, you know, like a little bit of a pullback here, with some of these mega cap names, you can get some of these, like, you know, they kind of wick down into your level. So I'm kind of hoping for something like that in Meta. Hope is not the right word, but I think that could be possible is basically what I'm trying to say. That would be a nice entry point. I think for this, I would like to take it to at least that 385, because that seems to be an area where we do have a little bit of oomph. And I just, you know, previous resistance can always become support. Support can always become resistance, and I do want to be very cautious of that. Also, some mentions of Tesla in the chat. Nima Mahdi mentioned Tesla, a couple other people mentioning Tesla. Tesla, I would actually say 208 bounce is kind of interesting. Or that 207, where's the low? 207.75. Bounce is kind of a strong word, but we are kind of bouncing back up into, and I say it again, oops, that's not what I meant. But we're kind of coming back into that 208.60 area. And 208.60, we had that nice bounce up there earlier. We bounced off of it lower, then we broke below. So I do think that decisive break of that 208.60 could be interesting. Like I said, I basically just trade during the midday because I do other things after the show. So the midday was basically my trading time. So if it doesn't break 208.60, before the midday is over, I would probably not get involved, but I would be interested if it doesn't. Vince saying Meta bounce. I do believe Meta will bounce. I have said I think the Meta bounce is in off that 383. Roger in the chat earlier making the very good point of Meta technically could go as low as 381 because that was where that pre-market area was, and I do agree. I do think also, though, we did get a nice move off that 383, and that was why I was trying to get involved in this move, just take it to the bridge, take it to the end of the midday here. But it looks like I'm going to probably have to change my point of entry. I might have to you know, finagle my way into this trade a little bit more slippery than I would have liked to. I would have liked a cleaner entry. But you know what? I do still want to get involved in this trade, I think, in some way. I do think Meta's strong. I do think that 383 bounce is pretty good. And if we can get a Meta move out of this, I will not be here complaining.
Meta move, eh? Money moves.
Oh,
Yeah,
I don't dance.
that's what exactly. I make money moves.
Shout out to Cardi B.
Yeah, guys. Look, we got the 95 print there on Rumble as it did pop into, technically the high of the day is 96 on Rumble, but we got prints at 95. But the real excitement, everybody and their mother's third cousin's dog wants to talk about DWAC. $58 right now is the high of day. There's a 3 touches on the 5-minute at 58. So I say we're accumulating into that $58 area for a possible break into 58. But again, keep your eye really on that 62, maybe even 60. Like, look, the wick at 4 a.m. was into 62. But the closing prints were, I believe, at 60 bucks. Yes, it was. So the closing prints over here at 4:15 and 4:20 were 60 bucks prints, but there was a wick into 61, almost 62 bucks. So maybe the real resistance level here is 60. We'll have to wait and see. IRBT is going too, guys. So whoever pointed out iRobot, for whatever the hell reason this is moving, it is moving on the day, and it is moving quite well. And it's not as aggressively, parabolic as a DWAC, and it's giving you, like, I'd say a calmer opportunity to get in. 18.5 was where we troughed out there, and now we're knocking on the door of 19.5. The high of day is 19 2/3. It's that 1968 look, but great move on IRBT. A lot of small cap gappers today, whether it's Rumble, IRBT, DWAC, Brendo. DWAC's going to hit 60 bucks. 58.72 is where the high of day right now on DWAC as it flies through 58. 58 no longer a level on this bad boy. My goodness. My goodness, DWAC. Is it 2021 again? We need that video of the Katina man taking $100 a share on DWAC. Where's that video, Katina man? It's not on your Twitter or anything? It's everywhere, baby. Well, we'll get that later. Anyway, it feels like that day. Again, I'll never forget that day. I remember there was another trader freaking out back there as well on that DWAC move back in 2021. So, great look. Great look for DWAC coming into 56 bucks now, though. 57 trying to hold here. A lot of volatility. Let's see what we get. What's the chat up to here? DWAC 2020. Oh, was it 2020? Really? I thought it was like 2021. It was. 2021? It was 2021. Well, let's find out. We're super easy to look at this. Here we go. We're going to go to the weekly and determine. It was November 2021 when DWAC went parabolic. It started the week at $9.50, and it popped up at the high of that week to $175. This is the weekly chart on DWAC, and this is the week we're talking about. Look at this, Adara.
Oh my God.
Look at that. That's $9.50 right there. And that's $175 right there. That's a hell of a week there. Imagine swinging that for a week, and I'd just retire.
I'd be like, work what?
Yeah,
Trading
like,
who?
Like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Especially if you held the entire percentage. IRBT, Smita Patel. I'm telling you, I can't find anything on IRBT. The only thing was yesterday, and it was a negative headline. Roomba maker iRobot struggles with potential EU rejection of Amazon acquisition and falling sales, says analyst. That came in yesterday, January 22nd, not today though. And so the bump up on IRBT, a bit of a mystery for me. If you can find something fantastic, tag me with that in the chat. Otherwise, I've got really nothing to add to that headline. The other one we want to talk about is ARQT. This one, it's near highs, but it's not really doing any aggressive move. It's above $4 right now. We talked about this one earlier. ARQT got off the schneid there at 345 with a 411 high. The notional move really is not there. RVSN was the other small cap gapper du jour. It is just a smidge above $7 at the moment with several topping tail candles. Shows you that shorts really getting in here and getting in hard as they try to push this bad boy back down. But it is holding that $7 level for now, but for how long, we'll have to wait and see. Rumble, I'm still involved in that one, looking for a possible 7 touch, really de-risk the majority of the position. But it's the future, Adara, that got off the schneid because we were kind of sub VWAP for the majority of the show. Then we kind of reclaimed VWAP over here, popping in to pivot point at 17,492. And here we go. We're testing that level again, see if we can get above that pivot point level on the day. Let's see what mega caps are doing. Well, I mean, not much. Just put it like that. Not much. Apple's at 195. That's all I have to say about that. But it's been quite consolidative. And it's had trouble holding above 195 Adara because it got to 195 and a quarter, sold off. So we'll have to wait and see what we get here on Apple, but the future pumping back to the high side. I know Big Kyle Burdett was looking for that 48.75 break on the ES. I don't think that materialized today. Let's have a look at the futures over here. This is the ES on the right side. Let me put in the ticker so you guys can follow along. This is the ES. This excludes pre-market and aftermarket action. 48.75 was as bad as we could do. I told you guys that would likely be the support level today. It was 4,900 is what I was thinking would be resistance. We haven't made it even to the 90s, guys. 48.90 hasn't even had a touch. Best we could do on the day today on the ES was this 48.89 and a quarter. So we'll have to wait and see what the rest of the afternoon brings. About 6 minutes left on the show. Adara, what are you looking at?
Yeah, I mean, I probably got involved in this meta a little bit too late. I tried to get involved earlier. It didn't happen. I saw that we still had some momentum at the 384. I was trying to take this to 385. Like I said, that 384.30, not my best point of entry, but we're holding 384 pretty well. If we continue to hold this, I'm probably going to wet my beak out and maybe exit the whole position. I guess there will be no whimsy there. At 380, just before 385, the 384.99, we are holding that 384 really well, I have to say. And Meta does, you know, I also, part of why I like to get into this level is because look where we had a little bit of, you know, resistance earlier. Resistance can become support. I do think this could be a good level. Not my favorite point of entry, mind you, but I do think there is some reason to stay in the trade. I am leaving, like I said, decisive 304 break. I will have to say goodbye. But for now, we're gonna stay in this trade. I want to talk now about Tesla. Nima Ahmadi saying that 208.60 area that I kind of pointed on Tesla was breaking. Hasn't broken. I think I was watching this in the side chart. We brushed up against 208.60. We haven't really decisively broken it though. Now we're right back below with that 208.30. So I think with Tesla, if you want to go long Tesla, patience before jumping in that Cybertruck.
Look at this, Adara. We just
God.
touched almost 59. Now we're back down into 53. I hope you guys, whoever was long this stock, I hope you took your profits and ran. Or if you're still long and you have a better cost basis than the 54 we're at now. But this just shows you the volatility here on DWAC. And this is why I kept stressing, make sure you have a plan, make sure you have an out. And make sure that your stop is DWAC safe. And it has to be DWAC safe. By either, look, I'm going to suggest that you do whatever you want. Have a market order or a very wide spread between your limit and your trigger. Otherwise, you may find yourself in an area of illiquidity and your stop may get blown through. And that's not what you want to do, especially when this is moving dollars in seconds. So make sure you are making a good plan for your entry and exit on DWAC as it, you know, fluctuates there between 53 and 59 bucks. Right now, let's see if it can hold this higher low, because currently the uptrend hasn't been broken. We've been putting in higher highs. There you go, crest, crest, and crest, and trough and trough. So do we hold this trough here at the 53.06 low and pump right back into 55.55 Adara? Lots of strength. Ryan McCordy says market order. Everybody's going to have a little bit of a different strategy. Ryan, if the market order stop works best for you on a stock like DWAC, go for it, baby. Whatever ends up working best for you. The other trade right now is this Apple 195 rejection. Again, we come into that 195 area, and again, we can't take it on a closing basis. Right back down into VWAP at 194 3/4. We go on AAPL. It's been one of the stronger names. I mean, like it's up 0.5%. All the while, the others are, yeah, they're not up 0.5%, but. A bit of a tougher, I want to say, trade today on some of the Mag 7 names. Like we had a really good trade on NVIDIA, but that still was very consolidated. Like looking at it, I mean, would you have expected this to be a good trade today? Look how sideways it is. Super sideways.
No,
right?
And every time I tried to take it to 595, just to 596 as like a long, it would get swooped up and then come right back down. Like it's so risky, it's kind of hard to know where to take it. So I do, like, congrats to you for getting that like long at the exact opportune moment. And you took it basically the only time it ran into 597.
Yeah.
So it ended up working out very well there. Also, I'm speaking of Mag 7s, you know, I got out of Meta. We dipped below that 384. I had to say au revoir. And when I say dip, I wanted a decisive dip. I left. Now we're back up in my area of entry. I just planned this entering this really badly. You know, I think honestly, a bit of a mixed trading day. Some success in the Meta trade. The Amazon was a bit sketchier, but I do appreciate what you said on the Amazon. Like that, the planning was there and just didn't work out. And a lot of trades sometimes it's just not going to be in the stars. And as like kind of, you know, astrological as that sounds, I think sometimes really maybe your brain's not in it, maybe the market's just not in it. But congrats to everybody making these epic moves. There were lots of moves to be had in this market today. I'm just trying to learn a little bit, hopefully, with everybody in here and learning from the community and everyone here every single day.
Absolutely. You and I both, Adara.
Thank you.
You and I both learning there. About 45 seconds left on the show. Oof. Shout out to Nimit. Shout out to Nima. West y'all, the Salty Bear, Jameson, Gulam, with love to all. That's a hell of a name right there. Mr. Memes, D. Collins, Hurt Scrambler, everybody, Frank Jones. Thank you, Frank Jones, Chris Hooser, KC, Diamond Realty of Miami. We dropped the cash there for him because he's always dropping cash on Super Chats. Thank you very much for joining us today. We are staying with the theme of the week, which is candlestick patterns. Tomorrow we will be talking about continuation candlestick patterns, not bullish or bearish reversal patterns. Adara, it is now 2 o'clock though.
It is now 2 o'clock indeed, and we will see you tomorrow at the same bad time and at the same bad channel. Speaking of continuation, but for now, we will pass you over to the big desk.
Hey guys, welcome back in. 2 o'clock here as we head through the afternoon. A couple hours left in the trading session that's turning into